What's going on, YouTube? This is Kenny Lowe, and I'm back with both of my friends we're gonna pow out this whole entire theory that everybody's been asking about. What's going on with the third installment of Pokemon? And I have two good friends, like I told you, who's here, and they're gonna actually chime in as well. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. JPR.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, it's JPR.
And my best friend over here, he's sometimes the God, or you can call him the devil, whichever one you're comfortable with. But I call him Tyrone the God 3.
Hello, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 here. What's up?
And we're going to be actually go ahead and get into this right now because a lot of people have been speculating about the latest installment of Pokemon Sun and Moon game to be the third game, which was supposed to be Stars or Eclipse. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back into, from Gen 1 to Gen 7 to find out why that we got these, why these games are here. So, why we don't get the third game after X and Y? Why didn't we get Z and why didn't we get Stars? So,
Right.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to, lay out this scenario and then I will take some questions. Now, Tyrone, I'm going to let you go first before I lay out the scenario.
Or just about all why we didn't get. Okay, yeah, I can do that. So, within Pokemon, and I've noticed this for a long time, but as a kid, I didn't absorb the concept of it. I just sort of, was a consumer and didn't really look into it. But back then, we got Pokemon Red and Blue, and then we got Pokemon Yellow. Now, I got Pokemon Yellow first personally, so I didn't really notice until I bought the other games how repetitive that got. But in a game like Pokemon, where you could literally choose from 150 at the time different characters to be on your team, on your RPG team, having two games didn't seem that off to me just because no adventure was ever the same. You're never going to have the same experience in each journey. It's never going to be all, you did this way. It's not like a JRPG where you can do it the exact same way you did the last time. So, yeah. So when looking at this, I immediately figured out, okay, this is a way to not only make people spend more money because you have, version exclusive Pokemon, but it's just a way for the third installment was just a way to, at that point, I think the gimmick there was that you can have Pikachu on your team. So it was more like Ash's version of Pokemon.
And see, that's what a lot of people were saying as well, because that's what that's why I assumed when I first got Yellow. Because see, I've been playing Pokemon ever since '98, and I played Blue, Red, and Yellow. I had all three copies. Now I'm gonna go ahead and lay out the first generation, and then we're gonna go on from there. And John, I got your opinion last night, so we're gonna I'm gonna get you in a few seconds when I lay this out.
All right, not a problem.
Okay, now Blue and Red, as we know that when they first came out, it was red, and everything was based. We didn't have no basis of what was going on in the series. All we knew is we had these magical monsters, and there was just this kid with a rival, which was fun because I'm gonna tell you how the truth. When I did not get into Pokemon until after I graduated high school, and when I first saw Red, I first got Red, and I played through it and I enjoyed it. So when they came out with Yellow followed the enemy to a T. And that's what my theory of why the third game comes from is why, the third game comes from the anime. And I'm gonna tell you like this. Yellow follows the enemy so much because it has Jesse, James, and Meow, because that's how Team Rocket is. You don't have that in Blue and Red or Green for the Japanese players. So my theory is for Gen 1, they was following, like you said, Tyrone, they wanted you to have Pikachu on your team. And because you couldn't find Pikachu nowhere else, but that was the only one you got. So to you, John, does this theory of mine kind of set up what does it bring out in your perspective? Is it the third game is not, you don't think that Gen 1 was a good concept for this, or do you think it was just based off the anime?
I think Gen 1 is the only case where the game actually took a lot of influence from the anime. Because, you have Pikachu, you have... actually, I think Ash is your default name instead of Red, or maybe it's like one of the default names.
I think, in America, Ash is
Yeah.
And then you got Jesse and James, like you said, of course. So definitely, Yellow is based on the anime. I figured maybe that's just a little something they thought they could do to, make the experience more relatable to some kids because they watch the anime. That was probably a good idea.
But
huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, all right. So basically, in terms of the later games, they don't really take from the anime. They just kind of have their own things set up with Rayquaza or Suicune or Giratina, and then the anime takes from it. They'll make the movie at the same time as the game is coming out. So that's how they sort of. Because then the anime, it's weird because the anime kind of gave birth to Yellow version, right?
Right.
But the rest of the time, the anime is just kind of there to advertise for the games. So there was kind of a shift between Gen 1 and 2 in that respect.
Because the thing is, with Gen 1, like I said, you have red, blue, green, and yellow. Only green for the Japanese players, so please don't get confused. But the thing is, okay, yellow follow the enemy so to the T, to the point it's okay, now when we get to Gen 2, would that trend continue? So let me get Tyrone's perspective on, yellow before we actually move to Gen 2, because we're actually going to get deeper into this.
Well, I think John hit most of it, where the anime, and I think the anime is 1 year after the games were released. So I think that was the whole, okay, we're going to make a game exclusively based more or less off the anime. And that's where that concept came from, where it's you only use Pikachu, you can only catch Caterpie's evolutionary line. Weedle's nowhere to be found in that game, well, except I think trainers have it. You can actually catch Pidgeotto in the Meridian Forest. You can get Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur within your team without, having to do the trades. You just get all 3 starters. So yeah, it was. So that was one of the ones. I think it was basically the same game, but the concept was it at least had a theme to it.
Yeah.
And then the Pikachu wouldn't evolve.
I hated that.
Yeah, the Pikachu can evolve. Something else with the Pikachu that I can't remember. Obviously, it won't be in a Pokeball when you have it, but
right. And then he also showed emotions too.
Yeah, and then the Pikachu showed emotions. It was the first stepping stone towards Heart Gold and Soul Silver's Pokemon walking behind you mechanic, which would continue in that game. And then leave completely for other games.
I know. We're going to actually talk about that too. So now let's go ahead and get into Gen 2. Now, with Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Now, I've never played Crystal. However, I do know the backstory of Crystal. Now, Gold, Silver is really nothing too much to talk about on, because that one, they didn't follow the anime too closely. Now, Crystal, it kind of followed, I want to say, the second half of, the Johto series to, when you had, what's his name? How you pronounce his name? You seen. He was following Suicune. Now, Suicune, when Ash and Misty and Brock was going into Johto, the first Pokemon they saw was Suicune. So, Crystal basically took that storyline and ran with it. So, my thing is, to you, John, do you think that game follows the anime as well?
Oh, well, let's see. Eugene debuted in episode 227. And I gotta find when that episode actually aired. It aired December 6th, 2001. And Crystal
Was
came out
in 2001.
December 14th, 2000.
Oh,
in
2000.
Japan.
Oh, yeah, in Japan.
So Crystal was a year before Yuzine appeared in the anime. So in that regard, yes, the games came before the anime. I don't think the anime really influenced Crystal that much at all.
If anything, the game influenced the.
Yeah,
the anime.
if anything, the game is what inspired them to put Yuzine in the anime.
Right.
So.
Right, because like I said, Gold and Silver really didn't. It didn't pan out anything to hit the anime, to want to, make it incorporate with the game. Well, the game didn't incorporate the anime. So the reason why I was thinking, like I said, I did get Crystal, so I didn't know until I played Soul Silver the parts of Crystal. So Tyrone, same question to you. How do you perceive Crystal mimicking the anime?
Well, Pokemon Crystal wasn't more or less the anime. I think, Crystal had an impact on the anime, but I believe Crystal's whole third installment release was more justifiable just because of the fact that I think they were trying to implement a lot of things with it. Like Crystal's the first game to let you play between a boy and a girl.
Right.
Yeah, it was the first game to introduce gender switches, which is why I'm a little confused as to why Crystal isn't having a virtual console release. But it is the first game to let you choose whether you're a boy or a girl. And I do know that Crystal, if anything, I think it should deserve a virtual console release, just strictly due to the fact that one of Crystal's biggest downsides, and I own Crystal, like the physical cartridge, the battery life was the worst.
Yeah, because I got Gold too. I still have my Gold cartridge. And the battery life
like the internal battery?
Yes.
Yeah, the internal
Oh,
battery.
see, I never owned the Crystal cartridge.
Yeah,
so
I
don't
have the
know.
Crystal cartridge. The battery is the worst because Pokemon Crystal has the most memory out of any Game Boy Color game that exists.
Yes.
Because it's literally carrying almost 2 games inside of it. It's carrying, the first half of.
Because even Gold and Silver was like
Yeah.
notorious after
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
it got
Because,
out, so I imagine
because
Crystal's
it's
even
literally almost 2 leagues in one.
Yes.
And it's the only game to this day that does that, where there's 2 leagues in one. And the whole gimmick was that you can control a boy and or a girl. It was the first Pokemon game to allow Pokemon with movement sprites.
Yeah. Well, like
Yeah.
I said, I didn't get it, but I heard about it, and I think
Yeah. It's the first
pretty
game to let the Pokemon, like when you choose them, they come out and they start moving and then they stand still and the battle begins. So with all of that, with the movement sprites, the full-on color sprites, the boy-girl options, the mobile options that were available in Japan, and technically Wi-Fi. If you use your phone, it was broadband internet, but it was Wi-Fi on Pokemon Crystal. All of that stuff. Pokemon Crystal had so much stuff that I get why they made it a third installment, because Gold and Silver just couldn't hack it.
right.
Gold and Silver aren't for Game Boy Color exclusives; they're Game Boy games.
Yeah, they were Game Boy games, and then they transferred over to Crystal. I mean, not Crystal, Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
They transferred over to Game Boy Color.
Well, I think when Pokemon Gold and Crystal came out, the color was already out. The Game Boy Color was already out, and they wanted to utilize it, so that's why they said Crystal could only be played on the Game Boy Color. But so that's why they justified it back then, and that's pretty much where the third game had its release. As far as the anime, though, it's hard to say because, John, like you just said, Suicune was the first Pokemon that Ash and the others met when they went to the Johto region. So there could have been like a hint of it there, and I guess they just took Suicune's concept and went full on with it because the legend.
That's probably the one thing, because it is odd that they would choose Suicune, because normally what they do is they choose like a third member of a trio.
Right.
So, but since Ho-Oh and Lugia don't have a third member, they just randomly chose one of the beasts. And so
Yeah.
the fact that it was Suicune maybe had something to do with the anime, because it got its movie and it had like the first anime appearance in Johto. So
Yeah, and if you look at it, it's technically the first legendary beast to show up because Entei was an illusion.
Yeah.
yes.
and Raikou never showed up. It showed up in a Pokemon Chronicles special, The Legend of Thunder.
Yeah.
So Suicune is the only.
Way later in movie 13.
You're right. So Suicune is the first and only physical beast to show up in the Johto region.
And see, and to be honest with that, Suicune is my favorite out of all three beasts. I really love Suicune. I like his design, so that's why.
It's also the only legendary beast in Pokemon.
True. That is so true. And to be honest, when I first saw Crystal, I didn't get it because of that. I really didn't know that Crystal was out until after, right before they announced Ruby, Sapphire, and we're gonna get into Emerald in a few seconds. But John, do you have anything else you want to talk about Gen 2's games? Why we got the third version before we move on to Gen 3? Because Gen 3 is gonna be our most talked about.
Not so much. I think that Tyrone covered most of it. There was just so much extra stuff in Crystal that they probably had to put it in the third version. So I think that very well describes it.
Okay, so now that we got that out the way, what we're going to do is segue over into Hoenn. Now, this is where all the discrepancy, well, I'm not going to say discrepancy, but this is where everything basically, to me, is the reason why we always got a third game. And, okay, everything in Hoenn. Now, Ruby and Sapphire. Sapphire was my very first Game Boy Advance game. And I enjoyed playing, through the game. Now, we all know that we had all the gym leaders, which was Roxanne. Oh, God, I know them all, but by the time I talk about it, I can't remember them all. Ronnie, Watson, everybody down to Wallace. Now, we get to Emerald. Everything changes. Now, we get a Battle Frontier. Wallace has stepped down from the Satopolis gym to become the Hoenn champion, and Juan comes in and takes his place. Now, John and I talked about this when we talked about it with Black 2 and White 2. Now, for me, I always say the reason why we get the third installment is because the anime, it follows when the anime changes something, they try to fix it with the third game. So every time they change something in the anime, the game comes out, or either the game comes out before they, do the anime. So, Tyrone, what do you think about Emerald? How do you perceive it, and do you think, what I'm saying is, a little far-fetched? Do you believe that Emerald came, do you think they just did it just because?
Emerald's confusing to me, actually, because when I got it as a kid, I think this was when I was starting to realize that Pokemon was messing with me, though. Because, okay, for the first game, I got it, Pokemon Red, Blue, and then Yellow. The difference was that, you were basically kind of like Ash in that one. Pikachu can follow you. It made it distinctive. I got it. Crystal version, obviously, there was a bit more to it, but it was essentially the same as Gold and Silver, but it felt like a more enhanced version of the two. Emerald, to me, literally felt like the same game. And I wasn't sold at all until the climactic battle. The gym leader, obviously, changed. And then the climactic battle between Groudon and Kyogre.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, with the plot involving Rayquaza. So I thought that was a bit different. And as a kid, I started going, okay, all right, that is different. And then the big change here was the league. Well, after the league was the Battle Frontier. And then that's when I finally went, okay, this is a difference. But when it came to Emerald, I gotta say, I was a bit disappointed in Emerald and Pokemon as a whole, because it felt to me like it felt lazy to me to make this one. Because at least Gold, Silver, Crystal, okay, 2 of these were on Game Boy and 1 of them was on Game Boy Color, I get it. All 3 of these were on Game Boy Advance.
Yes, they were.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and I'm like, other than that Battle Frontier and that Rayquaza plot, why did this exist? Why does this game exist? Right? Please, someone please tell me.
Okay, now this was my theory. Now, when we saw Wallace, when he made his appearance in the anime, Ash hadn't even gotten to Sutopolis just yet because May stopped off into a contest, and Wallace happened to be there. So when we saw Wallace, he was announced as champion. Now, mind you, I don't think Emerald had came out around that time. I don't think. I can't remember when. I'm gonna have to pull it up on Cerebi soon to check it out to see when it came out.
Johnny got it.
Yeah. Yeah. When
all right. So Emerald came out in 2004. Juan did not appear until 2005.
So basically, the game had won already, and they were just so he wasn't appearing until 2005.
Just like in Gen 2, the games was a year ahead.
So basically, like when when Ash finally faced Juan for the Rain Badge, he said, my apprentice who was Wallace, who had become champion, is like, okay, why isn't Wallace that's confused me the most. It's because like, why did they take Wallace out of being the champion and why they made him champion and not still be the 8th gym leader? So to me, Hoenn was kind of the craziest one out of the bunch. What about you, John? How did you feel?
All right, so the reasons why they made Emerald: 99% money, 1% I feel like they want to have a solid canonical plot for Gen 3 because there was probably a lot of confusion because there's a lot of differences between Ruby and Sapphire. Which is the evil team, which is the good team? Because in like one game, Team Magma helps you, or Team Magma's the bad team, or vice versa for Team Aqua. And then it's like, oh, which one gets awakened, Groudon or Kyogre? Emerald just kind of answers all the questions by saying, well, both. And that's it. That's all Emerald really does. I feel like the reason that Wallace became champion was because they were just looking for random differences to add in. Like, there was really no rhyme or reason to it. They just said, how can we make this game a little different for Ruby and Sapphire so it's not obvious that we're just trying to take people's money? Oh, I know. Let's just make Wallace the champion and call it a day. I feel like that was honestly the way it went.
Now, I'm not gonna lie. I actually like Emerald because of the fact, Ruby and Sapphire didn't give us that many Pokemon from, Gen 1 or Gen 2. We did get some, but we didn't get a lot. But like Tyrone said, when we got to Battle Frontier, we got a chance to get Sudowoodo. You got a chance to get him.
Well, that is true. Emerald did give a good chance to catch some Johto Pokemon that were absent in Ruby and Sapphire, and that was also kind of the purpose of the Gen 3 spin-off games, because you could transfer the Kanto and Johto Pokemon that you caught in XD Gale of Darkness and Coliseum to Ruby and Sapphire or Emerald. So all those games kind of because originally Ruby and Sapphire was going to have the Gotta Catch 'Em All slogan on the box, and they took it off at the last second because, well, you couldn't catch them all. And that was one of the game's biggest criticisms. So I feel like that was sort of the main reason for Coliseum, XD Gale of Darkness, and Emerald all to exist, so that you could theoretically catch them all across all of the Gen 3 games, but just not in any one of them in particular.
This one was basically, to me, it felt like a cash grab. It was the Pokemon game that felt the most like a cash grab to me. Like, I don't see any reason why this one had to exist other than, like John said, to have a canonical plot. So if anything, you want to say Emerald version is the most canon out of the two, because you're not fighting just for Team Aqua or Team Magma, you're fighting against Team Aqua and Team Magma, and both in one plot.
Right, and like I said, with this one, it felt a little bit different, and then like you and John brought up good points, because I actually saw that when I was going through it, but I also kept feeling that the reason why they were doing it was because of the anime, because when you see the differences in the game in the anime, you're like, okay, I got Ruby and Sapphire, but why isn't Wallace the gym leader? Why is this man, the gym leader? So, and that's why I was thinking like, okay, so there, the Emerald came out just for, to fix the plots of the anime as well. But you guys brought up good points, because I saw those points, because I was one of the guys that was actually mad because you couldn't trade all your Pokemon over from Kanto and Johto to Hoenn, but yet that's why we got Leaf, like you said, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Coliseum, and Gale of Darkness. So they helped us actually to do that. But what do you guys think? It was since it was just money grabs, well, they're cash cowing. Nintendo was cash cowing us. Do y'all think that was, in your opinion, was that a good game or a bad game?
I mean, I think it was a good game, but I wish that we didn't have Ruby and Sapphire first, because then Emerald would have been a whole lot better. It wouldn't have felt like a cash grab. Like, because Ruby and Sapphire were good games. And Emerald is just Ruby and Sapphire, but better. But it feels like a cash grab because it's the same game. So, hard to say.
Pretty much what John said. Just, honestly, Emerald could have just been a game itself without the release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. I'm not dissing Ruby and Sapphire. They're both good games on their own, too. But when you're really playing Emerald, like even now, unless you're a super hardcore game collector, if you were to ask me, Tyrone, how would you buy the Pokemon games? I'd say, okay, well, you would buy Pokemon Red or Blue, and if you want to play it like Ash, I would buy Yellow alternative. Then you would buy either Gold or Silver, your choice. No, you would buy you would buy Gold or Silver, your choice, and then buy Crystal version because there's a difference between choosing between male and female. And then just buy Emerald. Like, don't buy Ruby and Sapphire unless you're really determined to collect all the games.
See, I would even go the extra step and just say Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, Platinum, and then all the rest of the games.
Now, see what is so funny is this is the funniest thing.
And the only reason I said Ruby and Blue is because it kind of limits you though. Because let's say I want to write you. Well, oops, the only way to get a Raichu is to get Pokemon Red or Blue. Because you're not getting it in Yellow.
There is more uniqueness in Red and Blue. I think that's its biggest strength over Yellow. Is that Yellow, you're kind of forced to get the team members that Ash has.
If I want to get Beedrill or Fearow, you have to get Red or Blue because they're not in Yellow at all.
Right. Because see, another thing is they also have TMs in Gen 1 that you can't get nowhere else, like Fisher. The Fisher was a very good one, even though it has low accuracy. But that was one of the best TMs that I actually liked because
Well, in Gen 1 it was a lot better because accuracy was based on speed. So if you had a fast Pokemon, then your one-hit KO move's never gonna fail.
That was my Doug Trio. My Doug Trio was really good.
Yeah, Doug Trio is probably the best Pokemon to use Fisher.
And so, that's why I was so. Well, don't get me wrong. I'm a Gen 1er to a point. I love all the Pokemon games. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump to Gen 4, and while we're on Gen 4, we're gonna talk about. Tyrone, I wish you would have waited till I finished before you made me laugh. Because you already know we're gonna have to talk about that too. Because you already know that's about to come up. All right, gang. Sit back because we're about to get into Gen 4. This one is gonna probably take longer than the other. We want to start off because I'm out of breath. Because this right here is going to take
we both have some really strong thoughts about the Sinnoh region. I mean, I don't think there's any bad Pokemon games, but if I had to choose the weakest ones of the bunch, I would say Diamond and Pearl.
Yes.
There's just a lot of flaws in the gameplay. It's very slow. There's no fire types. It's very unbalanced. There's all kinds of problems that hadn't been in the game since like Red and Blue.
Now,
it just felt like a step backwards.
Now we all know we're gonna get some backlash on this because you already know there's some Gen 4 players out there.
Of course, there's fans for every generation.
Yeah, so we gonna get some backlash. But however, I do understand what you guys are saying because when I played, Gen 4, I actually like Gen 4. But I do know the complaints and, the flaws that it has because it was slow because I was like, oh, God. Even when you speed up the text, it was still slow. The gameplay was so slow. And I think we talked about this when we did the video about our Sun and Moon review. Like Hoenn, it was like you had to go around the world and back again just to get to one gen, which was was the 5th gen. It's like that, and because you had to go back all over the world yet again from what was I think
Oh yeah, you're checking into Fantina's gym every 15 minutes.
Right.
That wasn't the one I was thinking about, but that's a good one. The one I was thinking about was you had to come back from Snow Point City all the way back up to Canalave City. So
Oh yeah, Canalave's just like really out of place. Like you go
Right.
all the way across the map.
because you had to go through you had to come back down from Snow Point City, go through Jubilife, and then you had to surf over to this little ledge. I mean, like
Well,
four ledges.
the problem is that this region should have been called Everything Revolves Around Mount Coronet. Because,
Oh my god, that is so
because
true.
in order to get any goddamn where, you had to cross Mount Coronet. So you
And
better have a
able to get through Mount Coronet, you had to have 15 HM slings.
Yes,
or the barrel. So you better have the barrel. Because
It's like, oh, you wanna go like 10 feet through Mount Coronet, you're gonna have Rock Smash, you're gonna have
Rock
Strength
climb.
you're gonna have Rock Climb.
Default. Well, you needed the default too. Because you need
Fucking fall.
Now, my thing, okay, default. Now, I'm not gonna lie. When I had my Star Arabia at the time, I used it on it. Now, I did like it. However, there were some players that I talked to that said they never used default.
For competitive play, it's good to get rid of spikes and stealth rocks and stuff.
Well, that's not until Gen 6.
But that's
like
not
Gen
until-
4 is pretty much Gen
Right.
6.
But when they were through that gameplay of Gen 4, when they was going through, when they was trying to get up to Celestial City, Celestial Town, they did. They said they never used default. And I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Because I kept bumping into this trainer, that trainer, and it was like, okay, I'm so
Oh, and it
sick of
takes
this.
forever because
Yes.
your accuracy is like 50%.
Right. I think
Yes.
it was just willpower, because I remember even in Gen 1, I made it through Dark Tunnel without the use of Flash.
I couldn't.
Well,
I
plus,
could not.
Defog is just so out of the way. Like, that's like one of the few things, because internet still wasn't like giant at this time.
Right.
You had to go pick up like a guide or something to know where Defog was.
Right.
Oh my god, I couldn't even tell you where it was. I mean, I found it probably just by luck. I found it by luck because I never had the strategy guide for it. So I couldn't even tell you. And that was one of the problems, because when you're walking up to Mount, like you said, when we go to Celestia now, you got default. Now, this is one of the other problems. The starters. Everybody hated starters. Or was it
Really?
Default?
That's like the one generation I liked.
I like Turtwig.
He was my favorite.
I think Sinnoh is like the one region where I like all three.
I loved all three. Trust me, I loved all three, but I always started off with Turtwig.
I think the general public just didn't like him.
I love them because I always, when I played a game, I've always played with all three of them. I would play with Turtwig, I would get Chimchar, and I would get yes, I was gonna say Poplio. I was gonna say Poplio, but yeah, Flip-Flop. I'm so tired. But yeah, I played with all three of them, and I actually had fun with them. I actually like all their evolution lines too, because I know everybody got sick of the firefighting. Everybody was like, "Oh God, firefighting." We just had.
Well, they were all pretty unique. You had grass ground, you had firefighting, and you had water steel.
Yeah, and I actually like water steel because right now, Empoleon is still the only technical water steel Pokemon that we have, to my knowledge.
I believe so.
So right now, he's still.
Second thing is
Yeah, I can't think of any other water steel Pokemon. So that's why I actually like him the most, because he has a unique type that no other species have at this moment.
Right.
So that was my thing with them. Now let's get to Platinum. Well, do y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about Diamond and Pearl before we move on to Platinum?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, the whole reason that Platinum exists, I feel like not only is it another cash grab like Emerald, but I feel like it had to fix some of those things that Diamond and Pearl that because you notice there's some of the parts of the game that they just speed up just for the heck of it, like the surfing animation.
Yeah.
Like they, in Diamond and Pearl, the surfing animation looks realistic. It looks better, but it's so freaking slow. In Platinum, they gave no craps. They were just like, we don't care if this is gonna look like crap, and you're just going in a straight line with no animation whatsoever. At least it's gonna be fast.
True. Because see, my Platinum it does not work. For some apparent reason, I have no idea. Every time I tried to put the game in, I would get so far and it freezes. And I was like, screw it. I ain't got time for this. So, the only thing, now, the only difference that I saw that I can coincide with the third game with the anime is that Fantina is not the 5th gym leader anymore. She's the 3rd. And she was the 3rd gym leader. We got, the story of Giratina didn't happen until the movie. And, John, we're not going to talk about the Pokemon that you hate. Trust me, I know. We're not going to talk about him just yet.
Yeah.
But, she was the 5th gym leader. She was the 3rd gym leader. Contest.
In the anime, she was still a 5th.
Yeah, Oh yeah, that was right. That you are correct. You are so correct because now I remember because they had because she wasn't in town at the time, so Ash and Brock and Dawn had to go to they had to go to.
And it was kind of like the same thing as the games, but they did it like more comedically. Like every time they're in town, it's like, oh, she's away again.
Tyrone, what do you have to say on this, bud?
Yeah, so they did have to check 15 minutes every time to see if the gym leader was.
Okay, now what we got from in the anime, what we got from her was Fantina was a gym leader and also a coordinator. So basically, what she was doing, she was actually, when she wasn't at the gym, she was always in a coordinating contest. So that's why we never got her. But do y'all think that would have made a difference in the game? I mean, I don't see how it could, but that's just a question I would, somebody probably would ask. But what difference does it make? What do y'all guys think?
I don't know. I feel like the only reason they rearranged her in Platinum was just because it was annoying.
Right.
Because that guy standing outside the door, and he was like, "Oh, she's not here. We have to return later." I was like, "So now we got to go to." I still remember all the towns, but I just can't remember their names. But we had to go to Crasher Wake. We had to go to his gym, and then we had to go to the Grand Marsh too. Now, that's the only thing I hate about Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum was the Great Marsh, because you're trying to catch Pokemon and you get stuck in mud.
Oh yeah, that was annoying. That's another one of my complaints. It feel like Sinnoh purposely had routes that just slowed you down. It's like the game. The game was already slow enough, and they just felt the need to drive that nail into you even harder. Like, you know what? You're gonna suffer twice as hard now.
Oh my god!
I remember I was still watching. At this point, I started watching Chugga Conroy play Pokemon at the time because he had a way to record it, and I think he did a compilation of him going through the Great Marsh and headed to Snow Point City, and all you can hear is him going, ugh.
I know the pain.
Yeah, and then
it was so. Now,
even John, like what John said, I think you said it. To battle like one Starly in that game took as much time as battling 3 Pidgeys and Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yes, because
for comparison, in Diamond and Pearl, the time it takes from when the wild animation starts up, like when the screen goes white, like when you're in the grass patch, to the time when you run away, that's 17 seconds. And in Platinum, they cut it down to like 12, just by speeding up the animation. So that alone, they were just like, whatever, we just gotta make this game go faster.
Right.
See, one of the things that I did like about what Diamond and Pearl and Platinum did, they brought back the day and night cycle. Because in Hoenn we didn't get that.
Yeah, it was awkwardly daytime the whole time.
Right, but you obviously had to set your clock in your house before you had to leave.
Yeah, for that nighttime that's never gonna exist.
And then if you actually found a Eevee without, using a Game Shark at that time, if you found an Eevee there, guess what? He would evolve only into an Espeon.
Because nighttime doesn't exist.
People who be wanting to Umbreon.
There's like 7 suns in the Hoenn region. Groudon won along.
Oh my God, bro!
I think we know which game is really canon.
Right.
Ruby. It was sunlight the whole time we were trees.
I know, right? Oh my God, that was funny. I was like, because see, if I would have found the Eevee, I would have been so pissed. I'd be like, yeah, I can get an Umbreon because I like Umbreon. Come to find out, we don't even get the day and night cycle. I'd be like, bitch, really? No, we can't. But anyway.
You thought you were safe in Kanto, but nope, Fire Red Leaf Green got the eternal sunlight too.
Right. And that was me. But I didn't care. But when we got that in Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, I was like, cool, because we did get Eevees there because you got Glaceon and Leafeon. Now, John, the big elephant in the room, and we're going to discuss him because he's one of my favorites. And I know you really hate him very much. Lucario.
Oh, didn't see that.
Why are we just discussing Lucario specifically?
Because, now remember, Lucario has his own little part in the game too. And I think in Platinum, it kind of changes a little bit.
Oh yeah, with Sir Auron, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of changes a little bit. So
Sir Aaron, he was in Diamond and Pearl as well.
Because see,
Oh yeah, he was.
because
Or Riley, that was
that's
his
his name was Riley. So he
who just looked exactly like Sir Aaron for no reason.
and he also had the egg with him to give to you if he had like an extra, slot in your party. Now, to be honest, I never when I played my first through Diamond. When I did my first playthrough, I never played with Lucario. But when I did go back and I played it again, I got the egg and I hatched it and it was a Riolu. So I was like, oh, okay, this, the fighting puppy, I might like him. And I forgot, I don't even know if I evolved him or not. So, but my thing is, what do y'all think Lucario in this, did he have like a purpose in this game and in Platinum, and did it kind of change a little bit to your, well, John, I know you can probably.
Well, I think in this game, in the Gen 4, and it's kind of weird because it's the gen that Lucario came from, I think this was the gen that made Lucario oddly the most subtle.
Because, nobody really knew about him until Gen 6.
He's kind of like a hidden little treasure that you can get in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't until like Gens 5 and beyond where they were really like, oh yeah, Lucario is the shit, by the way. And I think one of the things that triggered that is Cynthia, because Cynthia is the champion and she has a Lucario, not just in Diamond and Pearl, but in Platinum as well.
And most of the time, it will change depending on what lineup you have. But I believe, like, if it just goes normally, then Lucario is her last Pokemon. So it's like the very last Pokemon you fight.
And on top of that, when the anime finally came around, I think, what was it? The third gym leader, the fighting one, Candace?
Candace.
Yeah, her main Pokemon was Lucario.
It sure was.
And also, that's the only time that Ash has ever tied for a gym battle. They couldn't let Lucario lose because he had his movie prior, and they were like, "Oh wait, we can't let this star of the movie lose the gym battle. It has to be a tie." That was the first ever red flag in my mind. I was like, "This man is gonna get treated like this for the end of time, isn't he?"
Right.
So
that was the beginning of the end for me.
So John was already salty at that point when Lucario already got was getting the celebrity. He was basically not outshining Charizard, but he was coming to his own right. Mm-hmm. I love this Lucario, John, but we're still friends. But so,
I don't know. I'm leaving.
Don't go. So both of y'all come to the agreement that Lucario had no bearings on the change to like Platinum, and the reason why we got the third game installment of the 4th gen games.
Not at all, because he really didn't have much of a role in Platinum.
Okay, now let's get to the legendaries. because we know Platinum does surround around Guaranteed. We already know this, and Team Team Galactic basically had a huge role in all three games, but it seemed like it was a little bit more in Platinum because of the fact it was Guarantina that Cyrus won. So we're gonna let Tyrone start off with this one. So Tyrone, in your own thoughts, what do you think about the whole setup with Guarantina, Platinum, and Team Galactic?
I gotta say, one thing, and this is only because I do a lot of competitive battling. One thing I did like that Gen 4 did, well, not just the Wi-Fi, but they did separate the attacks so that it's like, okay, we got physical water attacks and special water attack now. That's good. Okay, now Gyarados using like, I don't know.
Oh yeah. The physical Shadow Ball was my least favorite thing ever because it lowers special defense. What good was it?
Right.
Oh my god.
Like, at least Gyarados learning Waterfall or something now is actually
and not to
justifiable.
mention that ghost types have like 0 physical attack whatsoever.
Right. So at least when you have Gyarados use a move like Waterfall now, it's justifiable. It's going to do damage now.
Right, because see, I forgot about the physical special split in Gen 4.
Yeah, it's like, why would you give Gyarados a lot of physical attack when his typing is water and all water type moves are special? So, WTF on that one. So I do like that Gen 4 did that. I will give them that point. But I think, and this is just like with Gen 3, if anything, it's worse than Gen 3. Why did Platinum exist? Like, that Giratina plot to me, at least in Gen 3 we got, okay, there's 2 teams, right? Aqua and Magma, there's Groudon and Kyogre, and then Rayquaza. Okay, we got it. And Diamond and Pearl, though, it's just like, there is no second team here. You're still fighting Team Galactic. You're just fighting a couple of new admins. And now you're dealing with Giratina instead of Dialga and Palkia. Literally the entire country.
As time goes on, their excuses for having the third game got like steadily worse and worse. Like, Yellow, it's like, okay, we want a game that follows the anime. And then Crystal, it's like, okay, we had some features that we couldn't fit into Gold and Silver, but we can on this one. Emerald was like, we need a canonical plot. And Platinum's like, I think a 10-minute Giratina plot would be cool.
If, like John just said, if every Pokemon game was a cake, Pokemon Platinum to me is frosted. That's it. That's all it is.
Because it just seemed like it was there.
Because what happened? You're still doing the exact same journey you're doing. The only difference now is that your character has a coat on. A goddamn coat, because it's a little bit colder in the Sinnoh region for some reason. And
yeah, don't forget that there's now random snow puddles.
Yeah, there's random snow puddles.
Oh my gosh.
And then, like, after, and what's your reward after all of this? A Battle Frontier. Emerald version did that already.
A very watered down Battle Frontier.
Yeah, right. So give me a real difference here. Platinum is the one game, and it's sad too. I would get Platinum before I get Diamond and Pearl just based off speed alone. Because I'm sorry, RPG games are already long. I'm not going to sit through Diamond and Pearl.
I know.
And also what John brought up, and John, I'm really glad you brought this up. The lack of fire types in Diamond and Pearl was abysmal.
It was.
If you didn't pick Chimchar or Catch Ponyta, you had nothing.
Mm-hmm. Like, even Flint, the fire type Elite Four guy, he had to use like 4 of his 6 Pokemon, or like not even fire types.
They knew fire type
he just
moves.
He had Steelix, he had Lopunny, he had like Honchkrow. It's like, why does he have this stuff?
He had Lopunny because Lopunny, I think, knew either Blaze Kick, and I think he had Steelix. Yeah, and I think Steelix,
at least in Platinum. At least in Platinum, they added, like, the Magmar evolution line, which they should have had already, because they had Magmortar in Diamond and Pearl, but it wasn't unlockable until post-game for some reason.
Which is completely stupid!
That was another thing. So Diamond and Pearl introduces 109 Pokemon, right?
And see, this was the thing that...
But only 70 of them are accessible in the main story.
But see, this is the thing that you had to do to get Magmortar and Electivire. You either had to have Leaf Green or Fire Red into your DS, and you had to be in a certain spot in order to get it.
That's dumb.
Oh yeah, so you can't even get the new Sinnoh evolutions without having a prior game. You can't get them in Sinnoh.
And on top of all of that, a lot of, and this is just on the roster in general, a lot of the Sinnoh region Pokemon are just evolutionary lines of Pokemon that already exist.
Basically. And so that means Sinnoh really didn't have a lot of Pokemon, a lot of new Pokemon. If you don't count the pre-existing Pokemon that got new evolution, ooh, dang, I'm talking too fast.
Well, while we're on the topic, was Nose Pass really popular enough
No.
to where we had to have a Turbo Pass?
No,
No, it wasn't.
no. That evolutionary line was not popular.
But then again, Tangela got an evolutionary line, and now an Lickitung.
But see,
Well, I'll give them credit. Like, some of them feel like they've always been there. Like, sometimes if I go back and I play, like, Gen 2, sometimes I have to remind myself, oh, wait, Yanmega and Weavile don't exist.
But
like, those Pokemon
Miss
fit really
Magius
well.
doesn't exist, but Miss Remus does.
But see, I'm gonna tell you this. I actually like Tangela and Lickitung. Don't ask me why I like Lickitung, but Tangela was one of my favorite grass types. I don't know about the red shoes, but when I saw Tangrowth, I was like, really? I took a Pokemon that was already perfect and made it look into that?
And then, like, it was weird. Okay, so Electabuzz and Magmar got evolutions, but Jinx did not.
Yeah, they had a little trio going there.
They did.
And they ruined
it was
the
a
trio.
It was a fire, ice, and electric trio, and then they just messed it up.
What would have been okay?
Because even Gen 2 kept it with, like, Smoochum and the babies.
Right. I don't know. They could have. They would have figured something out. Like, I think there's actually a DeviantArt picture of what Jinx's evolution could be, and it's called Prince Ice, and it's actually pretty cool.
I feel like at that time, especially, Jinx was just such a controversial Pokemon.
They didn't want to touch it.
Yeah, they didn't want to touch it. Yeah, they didn't want to touch it. But see, I actually, to be honest, I'm probably one of the few people that actually like Jinx, because Jinx is one of the most unusual type Pokemon, because it's Psychic Ice, and I think that's the only typing in the games that we have that Pokemon. Oh, that is a nice evolution. I like that. Ooh, so that would have Jinx would have looked good if that would have been the third evolution for Jinx in Sinnoh. That would have been perfect.
I did hear a rumor. It has no merit to it whatsoever. But I did at one time hear a rumor that Frostlass was like a last-minute replacement for Jinx's evolution. Because Frostlass, looking at Frostlass compared to like Glalie and Snorunt, you're like, what the heck?
And they are based off similar legends. The Japanese demon-like creature in the ice mountains. Yeah, so I could see that actually.
So again, that rumor has no merit to it whatsoever. So don't check me.
I know, but like at least it's not coming out of left field.
Right, because if it's been circulating for a while, we already know that somebody in Game Freak probably leaked it, but they're not saying who said it, or it could be just like you said, a rumor. So I don't take too much. I don't take too much from that. I just basically go on what I basically know that is thrown in front of me. So I never heard of it, so I'm gonna just leave it like I never heard of it.
But overall, I think Pokemon Platinum was just the most frosting version of Pokemon I've ever played. And I think one thing that did give it, I don't want to say made it justifiable. I think it helped it though. Platinum came out after Heart Gold, Soul Silver. It already came out. So there was a break in between. Okay, we got these two Gen 4 games. Then we got Gen 2 remakes. Then we got a Gen 4 game again.
But see, my thing is it seemed like in Platinum, everything went toward Giratina, which Palkia and Dialga really didn't get that much shine like they normally usually would if you play Pearl or Diamond.
And the Distortion World was added, but it doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't. It's just there, just till you get to the end.
It just exists. Yeah, you're just, I'm walking up a waterfall now. This is pretty weird. And then that's it. You're done.
That got on my nerves so bad.
No wild Pokemon with messed up moves, no inverse typing or anything. It's just It's here, and now it's gone.
Now the three late Guardian Pokemon were there.
They're a pain in the ass though. So.
I know. Oh my god, they were there, and they were trying to guide you through it. But I'm like,
and they just make the puzzles even slower.
I hated the distortion world. I really did. I was like, just give me my Dialga. Because Dialga was my favorite. He's my favorite out of the trio. Giratina's my second. I probably use Palkia, but Dialga and Giratina are the first two that I run to. But like I said, normally like when we went in Platinum, it seemed like you didn't get those two until after the game. You get Giratina before you get those two. Or was it? Or did you get them right then?
Yeah, that's true. You don't get Dialga or Palkia until post game.
And I didn't. And I'm like, why would y'all do that when we're right here? So that means we have to climb back up Mount Coronet yet again.
At least in Ruby and Sapphire, or not Ruby and Sapphire, but Emerald. At least in Emerald, they like added new locations for you to find route on a Kyogre.
Yeah, but I still hated Sky Pillar in Emerald and
oh yeah, Sky Pillar just
right.
Ruby Sapphire. Oh my god, it took me like 2 days one time to actually get to Rayquaza. I was like, are you serious? Man, that puzzle got on my nerves. But yeah. So my thing is, John, do you have anything to add on, 4th Gen, Platinum? What do you have to add on to it?
I don't know. I feel like at that point they were just falling into a pattern of just releasing a third money-grabbing game.
Yeah.
Like, whatever people expect at this point. Here it is.
Okay, since we have all three of our opinions on that one, talking about a money cow, we're gonna move on to the gen that everybody basically hated.
I like Gen 5.
Gen 5's my favorite.
Yeah, I like Gen 5.
Oh no, it's not you.
Okay.
It's the other.
It bothers me. It bothers me that people dislike Gen 5 because most people dislike Gen 5 just because they saw a couple Pokemon designs and they were like, oh, ice cream cones, trash bags. Let's totally disregard the 130 other cool
Let's
designs
disregard
in this
the
gen.
blob that's in Gen 1.
I know, right?
Two of them,
So,
I'm sorry.
I feel like people just saw that and they went into the generation salty. It's kind of like the same thing that's happening with the Sun and Moon anime right now. I feel like most people just went into it salty because of how X, Y, and Z ended,
Right.
and then they just can't enjoy it. I feel like that was what happened in Gen 5.
Because, see, to be honest, my first copy of Black and White, my first copy was black. No, it was white. It was white, and it was the Japanese version. And I actually love it, and I still have my copy today because I paid $79 for it, but I still got it. I actually like Black and White because, like we all know, it was supposed to be a reboot of the whole entire series.
It was the first gen that dared to go outside the box.
Right.
Correct. And they had no Pokemon from no other region but that region.
It felt like a breath of fresh air.
Right.
And at first, when I heard about that, I was like, oh man, this won't be the same without seeing, Geodude and Magikarp and Zubat. And then when I actually played the game, I was like, wait a second, I hated those Pokemon, and this is a lot cooler because it feels like I'm playing the game for the first time.
Right. And
Now I'm meeting Woolbats instead of
Because that was another thing that I didn't like about Diamond and Pearl. Is that Diamond and Pearl, for the first half of the game, they're calling you like a rookie, a novice, and stuff like that. It's like, excuse me, I've been playing this game for like 10 years now.
2 years now, right?
At least in Black and White, since everything is brand new, the characters have a right to call you a rookie.
Rookie, because your character just literally got our first Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Now, let's move on into the starters. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion real quick, and I'm going to give John next, and then I get you, Tyrone. Now, the starters to me, my favorite, oh God, how can I say this? The starters were good, but they didn't leave an impression on me. They didn't leave an impression on me like Gen 1, 2, 3, and 4. It was just like they were. The only one that was not a mono type was Embor. Embor was yet again firefighting, and everybody got sick of the firefighting by that
Which
time.
was just insulting at that point.
Right. So Superior was a really good. I really like Superior, and I did like Samurai. It's just I use Samurai the most, but it seemed like the starters didn't really leave an impression on me. What about you, John?
I will agree with you, Kenny. Even though Gen 5 is my favorite gen, I love it to death, the starters are my least favorite. Like, I like Snivy, and I like Snivy's evolution line, but compared to the other gens, I feel like that selection of starters just does not hold up. Oshawott literally looks like a Piplup clone, so I was turned off like the moment I saw it. The Samurot's cool, but Oshawott itself is just like, okay, that looks like they literally is recycling.
The anime saved Oshawott from being just a Piplup clone.
And then I think Tepig was like the first fire starter. I was like, ooh, I actually don't like that very much. So, yeah, I feel like it's just the weakest crowd of starters.
To me, it was just the fact of, because when I look at starters, the starters have a very powerful impact on how you view a Pokemon game, just strictly because it gives you a preview of what you're in for the rest of the game. Which is why everybody dissed Popplio during its debut, because it just wasn't as cool as, you got a Fire Cat, which is damn awesome. Then you got, like, an owl, which owls are awesome in their own right. But this owl...
Let's chill out on my boy Popplio.
This owl was shaped like a ball, and that's just cool. And then you got Seal Clown, which, in its right, is kind of a cool concept. I'm not even saying it's bad. To me, I didn't dislike Popplio, but it was the weakest of the three, unfortunately. Like, you have a whole community to as proof for that.
Hey, hold on, let me just say, KG was one of our died laughing.
80%, not the whole community.
Yeah, I'm not saying Popplio was bad. It's just, so starters are a very important factor here.
Yes.
So when you got Gen 5, what I take into account though when I see starters is what are they going to be at the end of this, because that determines how you're going to use them in battle. And to be honest, like Gen 5 was disappointing in terms of the starters. You got Oshawott, which turns into Samurai, which the concept is cool. He's a water type Pokemon who can use a lot of slash based attacks like Ice Slash and things like that. Unfortunately, Samurot's speed doesn't make up for any of its power, so it doesn't have the defense to make up for its low speed. So, oops.
Yeah, it really doesn't excel in any stats.
Then you got Emboar, which is another firefighting. But the problem here is that at least the other two firefighting's whole deal was that they were fast and strong, they're glass cannons. Emboar, unfortunately, has the downside of trying to be a bulky firefighting type.
And that's just not good defense.
Which sucks, I'm saying, because fire is weak against literally everything under the sun. So why would you even try to make a bulky firefighting?
And then the worst part of Emboar was he only had one fighting type move. He could learn no other fighting types. I think it was.
I think he had hammer arms.
That's the only one I think.
Well, for the most of the game, you were stuck with like arm thrust.
Yeah, hammer arm thrust.
Awful. That was awful.
And I was sitting up here like, oh my god, why can't we use like a sky uppercut? Why can't we use like some more fighting moves?
Like as soon as you evolved like Blaziken or Infernape, you got like like close combat, or you got
Flare Blitz,
or Blaze Kick or something like that.
Or
but
Emboar,
it's like even after you evolve Emboar, like until like the 40s, you're still stuck with those same moves you've had since like level 15. You still have Flame Charge and Arm Thrust, and you're just like, can I get rid of this?
And then you got Superior. And Superior, for the most part, is good. Unfortunately, the only time you will really be using Superior for any real battling, not just in the story or the game, is if you get a Superior with Contrary, because that one has the ability to make it so that basically you would use Leaf Storm and become unstoppable.
Well, plus Superior didn't get a good move pool until.
That's where.
Like Superior stat-wise is the best,
but its move pool
design-wise is probably the best. But just it learns nothing but grass and normal moves by leveling up, and it can't use like any of the Gen 5.
And the problem with that is because it was limited mostly for two reasons. One, it's a snake, so they had to limit it to stuff that only snakes can do. Two, it's a pure grass type Pokemon, which in theory is good because reduces the amount of weaknesses it can have. Unfortunately, that means it can't learn any moves outside of that.
True. That is
Because,
so
like,
deep.
in Black and White, I think you got, like, Leaf Blade, Leaf Storm,
Absorb.
Grass
And Leaf
Pledge,
Tornado.
and Leaf Tornado. You got all grass type moves, basically. And then later on, if you look at Superior's move pool in, like, Gen 6 and 7, he's got, like, Dragon Pulse, Aqua Tail, Iron Tail. Ew, oh my gosh, it's so much better, but it's like, well, he's not a starter anymore, so why does it matter?
Now, see, my thing is, like, I'm with Tyrone, and when you first look at a Pokemon game, that is not just the legendary Pokemon on the cover that you wanted to get, but it's all about the starter. You got to see what you're gonna, because that starter is gonna be with you through the whole game. That's your first pick, so it's like, when I saw that,
I know people who actually released the Gen 5 server.
I couldn't, even though I hated it, I couldn't. That is good. That's all.
Like, I know dudes who got to, like, the 3rd or 4th gym and they were just like, bye, Oshawott.
Wow.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Because, I needed all my Pokemon to complete my decks. Because I knew the next gen was coming, so I had to put them up for something. But yeah, now let's get into the plot and try to compare it with Black and White and Black White 1 and Black and White 2. This was a good one. Black 2 and White 2 were really good, but we're gonna start with Black and White first. Okay, now I like Team Plasma. I really like them because what they were trying to do, they were trying to make the team look like they were trying to liberate Pokemon, but in the end they wanted to use them for weapons. They didn't want people to use them as weapons. But yet we get it in Black and White 2, that they actually were trying to, it was the total opposite. So my thing is now, okay, for you, John, how was the story? Because I'm not gonna lie, the story for me was amazing. I actually liked the story. I like when Eve came up into the game. I actually like how, I like how he came into the game and how he was your rival, mostly your rival. And we'll talk about the legendary soon. But what was your thoughts on Team Plasma?
I think that Black and White 1 is like the first, it's the first Pokemon game that's really like, story central,
Right.
And it showed, because I think it's like a pretty flawless plot, honestly.
Yes.
I love that plot to death. Everything. And plus, it also it keeps the truth and ideals thing very aligned. Normally, the games have very like clear cut, themes as you go around. Like Ruby and Sapphire was land and sea, and then Diamond and Pearl was time and space. Gen 5 is a little bit deeper. It's truth and ideals. And so, at first, you're like, okay, how am I looking up for this whole truth and ideal type stuff? But then you realize it's woven into every little thing, from the rivals to Team Plasma. You mentioned Team Plasma already with them liberating Pokemon. For the first time, the bad guys, they were almost trying to masquerade as the good guys. And that's sort of what leads into the Black and White 2 division between them. You have the good Team Plasma and you have the evil Team Plasma. And, so the truth and ideals kind of separated there as time went on. I think that's just brilliant, because truth and ideals in both Black and White 1 and Black and White 2 is just perfectly woven into every character, every subplot. It's just great.
And see, what I like about the, plotline of Truth and Ideals. Now, Gex we're going to talk about him, because he pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. Because he was the main one professing that they were trying to liberate Pokemon. They didn't want Pokemon to be used as a tool. But yet, he was a hypocrite, because behind the scenes, he was using Ian to get the legendary Pokemon to try to destroy the world. And that's what happens in Black 2 and White 2. But we'll get to that one in a minute. Tyrone, what's your thoughts?
Okay, so first off, with Pokemon Black and White, that alone had a great story. And from one of the things that John said, the theme was truth and ideas. Also, I believe the theme was also opposites, just separation.
Right.
Because in Gen 1, not Gen 1, sorry, in this game, Black and White were the most differentiated out of the entire versions. Whereas a lot of the versions we play were like, okay, this is the same games. Only difference is that, there's only Pokemon you can catch in this region, there's only Pokemon you can catch in this region. Whereas in Black and White, it was, this region only has the White Forest, while the other region has Black City. Even the movie, the first movie was what? Was a Dewalt movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the black version and the
White version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the level of detail that they put into this, not even with the fact that the evil team was questioning why trainers are catching Pokemon and making them battle, which is a big elephant in the room to tackle. That's been an issue since Gen 1, that we've just sort of hopped over. But it also added a lot of attention to detail about that. For example, whenever you fight N, his team is only full of Pokemon that are in that area.
Right.
Because he immediately releases them and catches new ones.
Right. So in a sense, he's never catching them and keeping them like we are. He only is borrowing them, and they are assisting him.
And that's
but
about it.
The battle that you are in, and honestly, and that to me automatically makes N the best in terms of rival. The only reason I guess, yeah, he's a rival, and at the same time,
N is a great
Yeah,
character.
he's a great character.
He is the rival, the evil boss, and the champion
all in
rolled
one.
into one.
And if anything, I believe that, and the one thing I got upset about was the fact that N isn't one of the characters to reoccur in another game.
I know.
Because N has earned what I like to call red status.
Yeah.
Like N and Red are two
legendary
trainers that earned a special place in the Pokemon world. Like, you know how at the end of the game, N is riding Reshiram or Zekrom, whichever one you didn't have at the time, and he flies off into whatever. Whereas in Black and White 2, you have the chance to fight him again. He is the true final boss.
Yeah. And you get the Pokemon that you didn't get in the other version.
Right. So honestly, I believe that Pokemon Black and White did the best job in terms of just overall story. So when Black and White 2 came along, which a lot of people thought it was going to be gray, and they pulled the wool over all of our eyes.
We're gonna talk about
Well,
that.
a lot of people disregarded. There was an interview with Junichi Masuda before Black and White even came out, and people were already asking about Gray. And he said Gray's not going to happen, and nobody listened to him. They all thought he was bluffing. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, right. We're totally getting Gray."
Okay, so now while we're on this topic, let's go ahead and get these fan terms out of the way, because from Gen 5 up until now in Gen 7, everybody is, when Nintendo says, well, Game Freak said they're going to release a new Pokemon game, everybody seemingly to jump bandwagon and say, oh, it's this game that's coming up next. And like you said, John, Masuda said there's not going to be no Gray, but nobody believes it. But so when they...
the reason nobody believed him is because we literally got hit with two games we got hit with two games that felt like they were just icing on already made cake. You got Emerald, which was basically Ruby and Sapphire with a hint of Rayquaza. And then you got...
I can tell you
Pearl,
why.
Which was hit with Platinum, only with 20% more guarantee.
I can tell you why we got Black 2 and White 2 instead of Gray. Gray, quite simply, it wouldn't have fit. They would have had to change so much stuff. With Giratina, they could put Giratina at Spear Pillar and have the Portal of the Distortion World, and everything would have been okay. Rayquaza, they can drop him in Sutapala City and be okay. Kyurem is a little bit harder, because you can't just move the giant chasm to N's castle and call it a day.
And not even just that, you fight in with the opposite dragon. So what's going to happen if you have Kyurem? You can't split them into two.
It's the only game where you actually have both legendaries present in the main story.
True, that is so true, because Like when in black and white, you get I think right before you go to, I don't know if it's after you battle the 8th gym leader. I don't know if it's Dragon. What is it? His name is Dragon, right? Can't remember. That's the
Dragon.
Dragon. I think
Drayden.
Drayden. There we go. Drayden. Either him or Iris, or as we all know, Iris. Nobody likes her. But anyway, if you fight one of those two in black or white, whichever version you have, I think don't you get the color crystal after that, like the color sphere? That's which is the legendary.
The white orb or the black orb, yeah.
Right. So don't you get that at the
Yeah, if you beat the 8th gym leader, you get their respective orb.
Orb. Now
You get the orb beforehand. You go to them to ask for guidance about how to awaken Pokemon.
Yeah.
see, the reason why
Which I like that too, because for the previous games, the orbs only existed to power up the legendaries, where in black and white, the Pokemon is actually inside the orb.
Right, because the reason why I said that, the reason why I brought this up is because when you get to N, you the crystal of the orb illuminates with the dragon of the opposite version that you have. It comes out and you have to actually fight him right then and there and capture him for him to be on your team. So my thing is, where am I going with this? My thing is, okay, so do you guys think this was a better plot in the way they did the legendaries versus the other gens like Gen 2, 3, and 4?
Oh yeah.
Because see, now to piggyback off of what Tyrone was saying about Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kiram. Now, Gray was supposed to come in because everybody thought we was going to get the story of Kiram, but yet we get Black 2 and White 2. So, so now when you put that game out, people are just like, okay, what happened to Gray? Why we're not getting Gray? We're supposed to get a game for Kiram. If you actually think about it,
this is a game for Kiram.
Thank you. I was just about to say that. If you think about it, it is a game for Kiram, but it's not what you thought you was gonna get. And it's like
that's one of the reasons why people were making so many comparisons between Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon to Black 2 and White 2. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest factors as to why Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is so reminiscent of Black 2 and White 2 is because Black and White and Sun and Moon are the most plot-centric games.
Yes.
So they couldn't operate with a third version, I don't think, for either of those. Because Sun and Moon is almost as different as Black and White is. Almost. Not as much.
Yeah.
Because you have the two different dragons in Black
right.
and White. But Sun and Moon, they do a lot of version differences there. So I feel like having Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was probably the only way they could go. They couldn't make Eclipse or Stars or whatever.
And we're going to get into that one in a minute as soon as we finish up.
And it continues that theme I was talking about of separation, where instead of getting a Gray, we got Black 2 and White 2.
Right, and when they did the separation, like you said, Tyrone, and it also brings the games a little bit more in depth because remember, it takes Black 2 and White 2 take place 2 years after Black and White does. And then what they also actually does, which we're going to talk about for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, is when you get your new character, you get bits and pieces of what your old character did previous to your new character coming. Because remember, we don't even get to start off in Nubia Town. We start off in Aspria Town. So
I liked the memory link where you could have the old memories from like you'd unlock the flashbacks as you played Black 2 and White 2. You got to see what happened in that 2-year gap.
Right, and that's what I actually liked. And it was like because I didn't get Black 2. No, I got White 2. Oh no, was it Black 2? I got Black 2. I didn't get it until basically after X and Y had came out. And I really wanted to play it so badly because I really, like I said, the only thing I had a criticism on Gen 5 was the way the region was. It was just a huge circle. That was my only
I was
criticism.
not a fan of the layout either.
That was my only criticism.
I was
But
gonna
my-
say,
But it was better in Black 2 and White 2 because they added.
Yeah, they added a lot more. That's why I like
yeah,
that.
and I think Gen 5 was the one game because Gen 5 was the start of the whole no more HMs. Well, not no more HMs. They still existed, but like you didn't need them. You didn't need them at all. Unfortunately, that meant oh, you can't come here because the Pokemon died on this route. He's blocking the way. Like,
They had to start adding a bunch of unnecessary like roadblocks.
Jimmy tripped over here. He's not gonna move. So
'Cause Sun and Moon does that a lot too. You
Oh,
notice
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
the
We're
HM
going to talk about that.
entirely.
We're going to talk about that, too. But my thing is,
My Stoutland is searching for something and he has to move at like 5 miles an hour.
I know, and it was just still in one spot.
someone farted, and the only way the sin will go away is if you beat the next gym leader.
Oh, my goodness, man.
And honestly, I was hoping Sun and Moon would give us like more freedom with like the order of the trials. It's like, what? Why does it matter what order I face the trials in?
It doesn't. It shouldn't.
Just make like a level adjustment thing. Like it's 2017, they should have a way to where the levels will automatically adjust themselves based on what order you go.
Right. Now, before we head over to Sun and Moon, are you guys finished with Black and White so we can, because Gen 6 is going to be really quick and simple.
Yeah, I know. Other than that, I think Gen 5 introduced Colress into it, which he appears in a later game.
Right.
And that was only in Black 2 and White 2, though. And yeah, because they were really bringing home the fact that Black 2, White 2 were sequels rather than just, oh, this is Pokemon Gen 5 remade and with Kyurem's base. So I do appreciate it for that. Unfortunately, it didn't get to relish in that very long because X and Y got announced like some months after.
Now I'm gonna throw this in here. Now I'm gonna compare it to the anime because remember, after Ash fought Lenora in the anime, but after he fought her, he went straight to what's her name? Roxy. So, what's Roxy?
Oh yeah, Ash went in complete order. No, he went in order. He fought all the gym leaders in the same order. You would fight them in Black and White 1 until the 8th gym.
Yeah,
And then he
right.
fought
The
Roxanne.
first 7.
And then the guy who was with him, because I didn't follow.
Which is disappointing as correct. I feel like Ash versus Drayden would have been a much better battle.
I would.
Yeah, I guess they just didn't want that to be a thing. And obviously he's right. Iris is traveling right by him, so that'd be
They
kind of
go to the Village of Dragons like, what, 15 episodes later, so I'm like, why does that even matter? They could have just done it anyway.
I think
They're just
Ash
not-
fighting Iris for the 8th match would have been fucking. That would have been
Right,
cool.
because if you think about
yeah.
it, she's technically a gym leader in Pokemon White. So if you play Pokemon White, that's who you will face. So
Well, they had to change it up a little bit in the
anime,
games.
Yeah.
'cause- or in
She
the
didn't make
anime,
it to a
'cause,
gym leader yet. Yeah.
right?
Because in the anime, it was Drayden, he was just suggesting that in the future, Iris would become the all-inclusive gym leader.
Right.
Whereas in the games, it's more like Drayden is grooming Iris to be the next champion instead of gym leader.
And when she does become champion in Black 2 and White 2, I don't know how everybody felt about that. It kind of felt off to me.
That was a curveball. I still can't get used to that. That's like 5 years ago.
Right. And
I still can't get used to
I
that. I
still
can't think,
can't.
wow,
I
she's a champion.
And one more thing I'm gonna add to that, Marlon, because you and I talked about this last month. We talked about this Friday, John, about Marlon, and the reason why I say the games follow the anime is because the trainer that was accompanying Ash, Iris, and Silent, he faced Marlon, but Ash didn't face him.
Well, again, that was after Black 2 and White 2 would come out.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I was saying that the games kind of mimic the anime, or the anime mimic the games. So that's what my theory started to come about from that. So before we move on to to X and Y, what do y'all think about that? Y'all don't have
Yeah. And like at this point, I was so glad that this happened rather than Pokemon Gray.
Right.
I was fairly impressed. I have, even to this day, I have a reason to play those two games together, to play the full story of Gen 5. Like, Gen 5, to me, there was never a game that felt like a waste of time in Gen 5. Because if I played Pokemon, because I have Pokemon White, but if I played Pokemon Black, I feel like I'm playing a different game.
Right.
And we're going to throw it all the way back to where Tyrone was saying, like, if you're pitching the Pokemon series to someone, and you're telling them which games to get, you're telling them, like, Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, Platinum. You're not giving them those first two. From here on out, from Gen 5 to the present day, every single game feels important. Like, you don't just skip games. Like, X or Y, Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire, Sun or Moon. It's like every single game from Gen 5 to Gen 7 is important.
Now, with that being said, let's segue on into X and Y now. Because now, everybody knows that this is the odd game out because guess what? It didn't receive a sequel, nor did it receive a third game. The only thing it got was a remake, which was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about that right now, and we're gonna get some. I'm gonna get some thoughts from you guys. Now we're gonna first start off with the starters, as we always do for each team. For me, y'all already know my mascot. Y'all already see him on the screen. That's who I picked, and I already knew. Now, John, what was your what did you like about the starters, and which one did you play?
Well, I liked all three of them in their base form. I liked Fennekin the most, and I was like, I'm gonna be set on Fennekin no matter what. Then I saw the middle forms, and they were all kind of and I was like, I don't like the way this is going. And then came the final forms, and I was like, double this is really bad. And then I was like, well, Greninja isn't that bad, actually. I got used to Greninja, but Delphox broke my heart. I was like, it's not firefighting, but
it was fire psychic.
It's still garbage.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good looking.
I know. What about you?
So, and it hurt because I was like, I wanted to remain loyal to Fennekin, but Greninja was so cool. I was like,
no, we're gonna talk about you probably when we get to Sunday next. We gonna talk about yes.
But oh boy, Gen 6. Gen 6. Its starters to me were. It was the hardest choice to make, but it wasn't because they were. It wasn't because it was like, oh my goodness, I don't know which one to pick. Oh, it was just sort of like okay.
You gotta pick the poison that doesn't kill you the
fastest,
most.
yeah. And I will admit, the anime saved Greninja. Like, when I first saw it, because I learned that the tongue was the thing on his face.
I said that too.
And I was just like, that's stupid. So I didn't want it. I picked Fennekin ultimately because I already picked Oshawott, I believe, in the last one. So I wanted to give a fire starter a chance. And I thought the idea of a fire and psychic type was cool. But then Delphox looks stupid. Like, it looks bad. To me, it looks like a giant triangle. It looks like I was controlling a giant triangle.
I'm just not a fan of, like, human-shaped Pokemon in general. Like, I feel weird using them.
Like, if it had stayed a quadruped, I would have been pretty cool with it. But no.
I think that was my problem with all of the Gen 6 stars, because they purposely made them, like, RPG classes, right? They had the Rogue, they had the Mage, and they had the Warrior. And while that was a cool concept, they were just all way too human-like for me in their final stages, and I was like, I don't really feel an attachment to any of them.
And Chestnut, to me, was so, like...
I was just talking about him.
It was too much of a leap for Chestnut.
Yeah, he looked like a huge beetle to me. He looked like a huge beetle with arms he can't even retract it. He can't even move his arms. So
it's like you're trying to look at where the design from Chespin connects to Chestnut. You're just like, does not compute.
Yeah, it looks way too
bulky.
It was way too bulky and busy for me.
But see, what was a good thing, and I know everybody was excited about this, there was no firefighting, but there was a grass fighting, and that's what Chespin took up. And I I was okay with it. The only thing was his weaknesses, because it's 4 times weak to flying. It is weak to everything under the sun. So I think that's the only.
It's the same situation as M4, basically.
Pretty much.
They took a cool typing and were like, let's make this a tank, even though it's
But,
weak to
yeah, I was
literally
Yeah,
everything.
I was like, you can't make a tank out of something that's weak to everything. It's just like,
And they should try. They should try. Now, Greninja to me stood out because, like I told you guys when we did our Sunday Moon review, I got X and Y. I got Y right after a year after it came out. So I didn't play it until February 2016. So when I played it, I actually knew I was gonna get Greninja. He was like the only one that I actually liked out of the whole thing, out of all the starters. But I do like all 3 starters, and it was like, but I played with Greninja because to me, I mean, Water Dark was a really good typing, and you basically can get through the whole entire. Well, I got through the whole entire game, with the water typing. Because I didn't really, the only problem that I would have had would have been Clement's gym. That's the only basic, and Valerie's gym too, I forgot. But I
well,
like
you
all
shouldn't
3
have a
of them.
problem with any gym in X and Y, but
No, I did, trust me. I did. But now we're gonna segue on into, we're gonna do these 2 segments together, which will be the legendary and Team Flare, because this was going to be really quick, and then after that we're going to talk about Zygarde and why we didn't get a third team. So who wants to take this one?
I think-
Ooh, this is a tough one.
Yes,
Tyrone, you want to go?
yeah, I'll take it. What else? So
All right.
which one are we on it now? We're on the.
we're going to talk. We're on
Z.
well, not yet. We're on
Just teams, evil teams, and
evil teams and the legendaries. Yeah.
honestly, Pokemon X and Y to me, for the time that it came out, it was like oh my goodness, new 3D experience. But that experience died fast for me. Like extremely fast. And extremely obvious. I think we made a video about this, John, with KG and the others. That Pokemon X and Y came out exclusively to show for one reason alone. Look at all this stuff in 3D.
Yes.
The routes are in 3D. The trainers 3D. Like that was the only.
And you're like, oh, this is really cool, until you realize there's 70 new Pokemon, the routes are thin as paper, and the game is incredibly freaking easy.
Lumio City
Right.
is literally the only thing that's.
But Lumio City is half the map.
I was like, yeah, Lumio City makes up half of the region.
Regions.
And it was just like, oh, we got all these cool Mega Pokemon, but they're mostly Gen 1 Pokemon.
Yes.
Mhm.
they
And
were.
they're all gonna get erased in the next gen anyway, so why does it matter?
Yeah, and then a lot of it also was the fact that, like, after you beat the main game, what else?
What else was there?
And then the evil team, their goal was evil. Evil for the
They
sake
were
of
they were just
evil.
a stylish. This is the other thing. They were just like kind of a stylish rehash of Team Rocket.
Rocket.
And there was a lot of stuff in X and Y that was just rehashes of Gen 1. People were talking about at that time, a possibility of another Kanto remake. And it was like, why? Basically, Kalos is a Kanto remake. You have the exact same Viridian Forest layout in Santaloon Forest.
Yes, you do.
You have the Snorlax thing with waking them up.
Yes, you do.
You have Team Flare, which is just Team Rocket 2.0.
They even give you
you've
all.
got-
They even give you a choice of the 3
A
Kanto
free
starters.
starter.
Yeah, they give you the Kanto starters. It's like, what did this game have that Kanto didn't? It's basically Kanto 2.0.
And then they got an AZ plot that they didn't finish.
Finish.
They've got what else was it? A lot of it was really just, and it did not help that it was easy as sand. Like
Well,
this-
it's mostly disappointing because Gen 5, like we already documented, was the most complete gen, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we got Gen 6, which is the most incomplete gen.
Because it's still incomplete because we still. Well, we'll get into that in a minute.
like
Like,
I remember, John, you said you can buy either, at this point, you can buy any one of the games, and I'm sorry, John, this is the one where I have to disagree. You can buy X or you can buy Y. You don't need to buy both.
Yeah.
That's true. That is so true. Because
And we thought that, Zygarde and some of the other questions would be answered in Sun and Moon, right?
Right.
But
bro,
it just gave us more questions. It's like, okay, why is Zygarde in Alola? Why isn't he in Kalos? Why were the cells never detected in Kalos?
Oh.
And it's like,
I got
okay, everything that was starting to make sense about Zygarde because of the anime has just been ruined again.
Oh,
And it's
but
like,
we're gonna talk
why-
about that in a minute too, because there's some theories out there that I'm gonna talk to you two about when we get to Sun and Moon about Zygarde. And I mean, you guys probably heard about it, but we'll talk about it.
And the
What
game
was I
tries to be deep with the whole, one day the king, made this giant cannon that can restore life of a Pokemon, but you gotta destroy others, or it can destroy. The problem is, the main legendary of whatever game you get is either the Pokemon that represents life, or the Pokemon that represents destruction. So can you answer me this question? Why would you use the Pokemon of destruction in order to use a reincarnation machine? Or even vice versa? Why-
Yeah, why would you use the Pokemon of life to create a destruction machine?
that doesn't make any goddamn sense. So, I'm sorry, X and Y, I want to say X and Y is like drinking a diet soda. It tastes good, but then the aftertaste.
Cause see,
It's like, it looks flashy on the outside,
Right.
really, and then you're like, oh, well, there's no substance in it.
Exactly.
cause see, this was the gen that actually brought me back to the anime series, and we're gonna compare the anime series.
Well,
to
the
game
anime is
too.
a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
I did. We're gonna compare the games to the anime in a few seconds after we talk about the big elephant in the room, Zygarde. Now, to me, this the anime brought me back. I was hyped for the game. I actually like Balance, but I do know what you and Tyrone are saying because it is so true that it is a rehash of Kanto, but just in a different region. And a lot of people were stating that they didn't really care for 6G because the Gym Warners are like, it's another region with no can't say there's no Kanto Pokemon because half the roster is Kanto Pokemon, and Charizard got 2 damn megas. I mean, what more could you ask for? And I like the vibe better. But
Well, the thing that separates the XY anime apart from the XY games is that the XY anime knew how to start on a serious note and continued it the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas the games, as Tyrone said earlier, they tried to make it deep with the whole life and death thing, but it went 0 to 100 just way too quick. You step out of the gym, your rival's there to battle. Oh, what's this? We just got a phone call. Oh, wait, hey, Lysander wants to destroy the world out of left field.
And see,
Guess we better go take care of that subplot.
and see what I didn't like about what the anime didn't do. Okay, I know we was focused on Zygarde. However, we got Evital and Xerneas out of the way in the first movie with Diane, but they still really didn't dive into. Now, Evital got a special at the end of X and Y.
Well, Xerneas
was the X, Y, and Z. I didn't. Oh wait, yeah, that was Xerneas was there too. Yeah, but I mean, Xerneas. Bonnie got a chance to see Xerneas in the forest. I think that when she was trying to find Funi-chan,
Yeah.
that's when she got a chance to see Xerneas.
Eviltal just didn't appear at all.
Right,
Not
and
really.
see that's how,
Unless you're counting the movie.
right.
Yeah,
that's what-
we're not
that's
counting the
what I'm
movie
saying.
and the special.
Because see, the reason what my thing was, we got Zygarde, and we're about to use Zygarde to become perfect. Why not bring the Pokemon of life and the Pokemon of destruction Well, I mean, I can understand why would you bring the Pokemon of Destruction.
I think it's just because the Flare arc already had so many characters in there that they just couldn't possibly fit anymore.
It was
Right.
so good too. To me, I believe a lot of the
They didn't want to become Hoopa. You know, the
Yeah. There's having a good cast and there's just being sloppy over the
Yeah,
top.
they didn't want to be the Hoopa movie where there's way too much happening on screen at once.
But oh yes, we all know about that. Like 99 legendaries, and you can see but like 2 or 3 at a time. Yeah, that was a lot going on. But I do
But
understand
that's just mostly what separates the anime from the games in this gen. Yeah, because like, you know, it's like most of XY is just happy-go-lucky. Oh, look at how beautiful this region is in the games.
Yeah.
Oh wait, some crazy guy wants to commit mass genocide. Well, he's dead. Back to happy-go-lucky for the rest of the game.
And that's basically what happened.
It goes 0, 100, 0.
Not even just that. It's like, oh, you're walking through the Hall of Fame, or you're walking to, you know, the red carpet and a parade. Freaking AZ, 100-year-old, 1,000-year-old man comes out to battle you. You beat him. He beats Floette again. And then what? And then the fuck what?
And it just
Like, that's
abruptly
it.
stops.
We're just gonna let this 1,000-year-old man walk away from us? I have questions.
Okay, so now
We never heard anything more from him, and it's like we don't see him in post game at all.
There's a Floette.
He's been waiting 3,000 years for this Floette to come back, right? He sees it for like 10 seconds, and then the credits come up, and it's like,
And that Floette actually has a battle code in the game, and it's different than a regular Floette.
yeah, it had its own thing that was gonna be distributed, but never was.
We still ain't got it. Like the GS ball of Celebi. I still want the GS ball though. That would be a good ball to have.
It's just,
And now,
yeah.
since we got Pokemon on the Switch confirmed, it looks like we're gonna go 2 whole generations and still no sign of Floette. So I don't think they're gonna do anything.
They dropped it, yeah.
Yeah, because see, now let's move on into.
Which is so disappointing because even now in Gen 7, I'm expecting some AZ thing. and
Oh,
it's
I am
not.
too,
We're not
right?
getting-
Because
we're not getting
it's just because it's so unfinished. And that's not
Yeah.
even the worst part of it. There's literally spots in the train station in Lumio City that go nowhere.
Right, because that's what we're about to talk about is why did we get a third game? And because if you think about it, that train, now, okay, what I'm gonna say on that is I was looking at Birdkeeper Toby, his video. He did like a map of the of the regions and where would you place them. Now, when he looked on the map when he plays Kalos, the train actually goes to Johto. So I was sitting here looking like, wow. Because if you think about it, because what I'm about to reference, I'm about to make.
Well, I guess they could extend it to Goldenrod, but like they were using real world scale.
Right.
Like if it was like actually in
France,
France.
it probably would.
That's
work.
quite a bit, yeah.
Right, because see now.
That's a long train.
Right. See, like when he did Sinnoh, because Sinnoh was north of Johto, and remember, when you met Sinnoh,
You have the Sinjo
you heard the
ruins. They
Sinjo
had to be
ruins.
connected.
So that does make sense, but for Kalos to be west of Johto, I thought about that. I said that's probably where the train goes. And if it did go to Johto, why didn't we get a chance to actually go back to Johto? So
Well, I don't know about that, but what I do know is that Kalos wasn't supposed to have a follow-up from the very beginning.
yeah, we're about to
Because-
talk about that now.
We saw the strange souvenir in XY. That was the first sign,
Yeah.
which is, the Alola thing.
Uh-huh.
And then, on top of that, just the whole game seems like a 3D prototype almost for Sun and Moon.
They were getting their feet wet.
Right.
Yeah, basically. They were trying to get us in the water, trying to get us wet before we went full on into the ocean,
Right. So, because a lot of people was complaining about, because like we said, this gen is very incomplete. We got a legendary who has 100, that has 99, has 95 cores, and 5 cells. Put them together, he becomes this mega god, this mega lit Pokemon that we can't even use in Gen 6. Then we got the 1,000-year-old guy who basically comes out of nowhere and, he fades into obscurity. Then we still got a region that...
And it also doesn't help that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire talked about him again.
Yeah, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire,
Oh, no,
it was
not
like,
just
we're just going to talk about him for the whole game, but he's never going to show up. And also, we're not going to talk about what happened after he saw Floette. We're just going to tell you about a bunch of random stuff that somehow... They tried to tie Hoenn and Kalos together through AZ, and it just ended up in this really, really convoluted type thing debating the origins of Mega Evolution.
Right.
Originally, it was like, oh, Lucario was the first Mega Evolution. No, wait, Rayquaza was the first one, but AZ didn't bother to write it down until just now. And it's like, okay, what?
Because see, and then not only did they talk about it, they also planted Floette's little flower in the garden on Sootopolis.
Yeah, because they went back and they said that AZ was like the founder of Sootopolis City.
So I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, now this is really crazy. I mean, okay, now do we just discard the whole story from Kalos, and when we get to Hoenn, we basically just go with what Hoenn says?
I almost think that's what it is, because there's just so many inaccuracies, it feels like, between Hoenn and Kalos. It's like they have to rewrite the entire Mega Evolution lore to encompass Groudon, Rayquaza, and Kyogre.
Now, okay, now I can understand Rayquaza being the first Pokemon to, make it evolve. However, will we still consider Lucario be the first that Mega evolved in Kalos? Or is... Well,
I think Lucario was the first one that evolved like through traditional Mega Evolution, like with a stone, and with a trainer.
Right.
Lucario didn't eat his stone like Rayquaza.
Whereas Rayquaza was able to Mega Evolve just because he felt the wishes of the people.
And I mean, I actually like that because, see, in Wi-Fi battles with Rayquaza, Mega Evolve, he's broken because you can use you can put anything on him and he still can Mega Evolve. So you can use any kind of item.
Except the Z Crystal.
You can't use a Z. No, you can't. I tried that and it was horrible. I tried it. If you would Mega Evolve or Z Crystal, you can't do both. I was like, are you serious? I was like, man. But now, Tyrone, what are your thoughts on it?
With just Gen 6 as a whole.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of it. Like I said, hey, John, I think you said it before. This was really just like a get our feet wet. Hey, experience the same Pokemon you've been playing, only this time it's 3D. And I really reached a level of what's the point when I fought against Lysander in the boss battle where you just put on that all that machinery.
Right.
And at that point I was just like, it's the same thing. Like, oh, he tried to justify him doing bad things because he tried to help the world, but people were being greedy about it. Like, that's already been done. Like, they already did that in Gen 4 with Cyrus. It's just, you didn't pay as much attention to it because it's Cyrus. But
yeah, and I feel like that was another one of the reasons why Gen 6 had so many Gen 1 illusions, was because imagine if we went straight from Black and White, or Black 2 and White 2, to Sun and Moon, without this buffer in between. I felt like it would have alienated so many of the old traditional fans that they just would have lost a lot of people.
Right.
Because it's like, imagine just going from these sprites to like full 3D models, off the grid, everything. They had to have XY as sort of like a bridge between like the full 3D world and the traditional world.
But the problem is that the bridge isn't complete. There's a giant hole in the bridge.
It's a rickety bridge that's about to fall apart.
Right, it's missing a couple of steps. And what made it worse is like, you know what? I would respect Lysander a lot more if he was a bit more straightforward with things. Like, oh, I just want to be evil and I want to take over Pokemon. The reason then, because at least I get it. But then they try to give a backstory unfortunately, the backstory is briefly grazed over. At least in Gen 1, Team Rocket wanted to capture Pokemon because Giovanni's just fucking evil. Like, that's it.
Yeah,
they didn't have an alternative motive. In Gen 2, Giovanni was so evil that the other Team Rocket members just wanted him back. Like, he was just such a good leader. In Gen 3, it was like, oh, we want to help the world by making it flood everywhere. Oh, we want to help the world by making it, making a drought.
And that didn't make no sense because if you make a flood, you're killing people. If you have a drought, you're killing people. So,
yeah, and then,
what was the help?
And then in Gen 4, Cyrus just wanted to recreate the world in his own image. And then in Gen 5...
He wanted to get rid of all emotion.
Yeah, and then in Gen 5, Jetsis just wants to create the world in his own... Fuck. And then in, Gen 6, Lysander wants to create... Image. Fuck. Fuck.
It's just basically the carbon copy of the bad guys.
And I was like, come on,
But
now,
they just make it slightly more intense.
I mean, at least they could have been a kleptomaniac like Lucamine who just wanted to keep stuff.
Oh, we gonna talk
Lucamine
about
just
her
wants
in a
her
minute,
children
too.
to love her.
We're gonna talk about that in a minute too, because that, oh my god, she, to me, besides Giovanni, she was one of the best villains that we had.
Like, I'm sorry, it's just Gen 6. The more I play Gen 6, the more disappointed I get in how incomplete it is.
Right.
I feel like why Lucamine is so good compared to these previous villains we're talking about is because Lucamine is actually, like, clinically insane.
Yeah, like something happens to her. Something actually
Whereas
happened.
you're looking at someone like Lysander, who's like a successful businessman and whatnot, and you're just like, why was this your thing?
What happened?
You couldn't help people, so you're like, I'm just gonna destroy the world now. Like, he's not crazy. He just thought that was an logical solution. He was like, that sounds pretty alright. Whereas Lucamine actually had, like, some mental stuff going on.
And Cyrus, apparently, he had a bad relationship with his parents. Like, he couldn't live up to their standards. But you only figure that out if you read about it.
Yeah, and it's like a random NPC in a freaking post-game, like, middle of nowhere.
Like, the game put in no effort to try to help you figure out who Cyrus was. It just thought you would roll with it.
And it seemed like you never even, in Platinum, I think you met him like on 3 occasions before you actually fought him at the hideout and also in the distortion world. I think that's how it was, because you didn't really meet him till after, I think, either 3rd or the 4th gen.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
And then Jettis is just evil. Like, there's just no. Well, the thing about Jettis is, he used a lot.
Well, he was creative because he wanted to, like, at first, he wanted to rule through his son. He wanted to be like, kind of a cover.
Right.
Whereas in Black 2 and White 2, he's just very much more outright evil. He's like, alright, I don't give a crap. Everybody knows I'm evil now, so I
might as well just go ahead and finish it. I know.
Which, Jettis, out of all the Team Plasma members, Jettis is the least interesting. It's actually just the regular grunts that separated. Like, some of them actually wanted to liberate Pokemon, and some of them were like, oh yeah, Jettis is the shit. We're just gonna be evil.
I know, right? And it was
and at least gets his head, like, more intriguing dialogue. Like, you got to know his motives, like, through him speaking. Whereas Cyrus, I think Cyrus had, like, literally the exact same standard battle quotes before every time you face him. Like, you know, it's so dry, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You get no sense into his personality because he just wants to be emotionless and just gives no insight.
I know, cause with Gex's was like I said, he was the ticking time bomb. I'm just evil. Screw you guys. We're just gonna take it off. Cyrus was.
Well, Gex's also kind of went, like, insane in Black and White too.
Basically,
He already kind of, like, snapped after you catch the dragon and defeat N in Black.
He was cunning in Gen 1. He was just psycho in Gen 2. I mean, Gen the second version.
And I mean, and everybody, I think everybody liked that story the best because, you know, I never heard anything bad about the story except, you know, when everybody was like, you know, this is a carbon copy of Gen 1 because there's no other Pokemon in the Gen that you can catch besides that. So, we was talking about not Speed, but who were we talking about?
Lysander.
Him. Yeah. Y'all, I'm on my medication. I gotta forgive me. My brain ain't working right now. But Lysander, in the anime, he was better than he is in the game. And I don't understand why. Because
Mega Evolution Act 2 and the others.
Yeah.
Well, they fleshed him out a little bit more. He was the same character with the same motives and the same backstory, but they just did a better job of
They had
explaining
Mega Evolution Acts to help him.
Right, because when you played it, before we got this, actually, we were playing the games as, Mega Evolution story, because they were structured really good. But when you play the game, and you're looking at Lysander, you're like, wow, he's a really bad guy, but you don't really feel it. But when you see the anime, you're like, why do we?
Because in the XY games, Lysander's only there for like a few minutes, like
right?
at most.
Because
like
you see Diantha more than you see him, basically. But no,
like he shows up in the very beginning, he shows up like at the midway point, and then he's there for 30 minutes at the very end of the game. Whereas in the anime, he has like at least 10 full episodes that he is present in. So. He's probably in more anime episodes than Cyrus. He's like in twice as many as Getsus is.
Right, because what I was about to say was because toward the end, it's like when you get toward the end, all you see is nothing but Team Flare grunts. Now they were trying to make us think that they was trying to keep Lysander from being a surprise to us to be the villain. But we already knew who he was when you first meet him. We already knew he was
such a terribly covered twist.
Right, because he this
guy with flaming red hair who says he wants to destroy the world.
Now
turns out to be the bad guy.
Now with Giovanni, we knew he was Team Rocket's leader, but it was a twist to see him the leader of the 8th gym. So that was that was a punch in the gut, because you're like, okay, Team Rocket's leader is the gym leader. He was nowhere around, and it never was told that he was the gym leader.
Yeah, the only time they really had good twists relating to the leaders was Gen 1 and Gen 7.
Right. Because now we're about to segue over to Gen 7. You two don't have anything else to say about, because we already knew why we're not getting a repeat of X and Y. We know why we're not getting the third game. The anime kind of, helped Zygarde up just a tad bit, which we're going to talk about him in Gen 7. And we talked about the starters, and we talked about, the evil team, which, like I said, Kalos was probably the fastest we got to. Now, we're going to, our last part and the best part, Sun and Moon, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Now, I know Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are not out yet. We just got they just announced it in May. Was it May or? I think it was May. June. Right after.
Before E3.
Oh, it was right after
20
my
days.
birthday. Okay, it was right after my birthday. Okay. I can't remember. I can't forget. Why did I forget that? Anyway, so we're gonna move on into Sunday. Now we're gonna talk about the starters, and John, I'm gonna talk about you just a few seconds, my friend. I know you told me you was a Papio fan right up until you got the game. Then when the game came out, you was more Rowlet. Don't feel bad, bro, because everybody and their mother loves Rowlet, except KG, because he was always with Lit. But we all can say, and we can all feel that everybody in the community hated Papio. But I'm gonna say this: I played with Papio. And I actually I was the only one that liked all three starters, but I just liked Rowlet more.
I genuinely feel like Papio in the end at least turned out better than Litten. Because Incineroar, even people who really were sold on Litten saw Incineroar and were like, nah.
Incineroar shot himself in the foot by being a bipedal cat. Because at first, it came up as a quadruped cat, which was nice. It was a nice little fire kitten. the things you look for in starters is it cute or is it strong? Because obviously cuteness is just a factor for when you're about to get the damn thing in the first place. You know, it's a baby. You started off as a baby. Strength comes at the end because obviously you get stronger, the Pokemon get stronger. Litten shot itself in the foot because it became a quadruped all the way up until its final evolution, which I swear it was supposed to be a firefighting. They just didn't want it to be a firefighting because they knew people would get pissed. So they instead made it an alternative fighting wrestler type deal.
And at least they attempted, you know, that you see a progression with Popplio and Rowlet. Whereas with Litten, it feels like there's a missing link between Torracat and Incineroar. You're just like, where did the wrestler thing come from? It has nothing to do with cats.
Because I was going to say, he could have stayed a quadruped and still was Fire Dark. Because
if anything, that would have helped it, because it would have been more like a tiger.
Right.
Because Popplio becomes a siren. And you're like, okay, that's neat. The seal became a siren.
Yeah,
that I can see.
Like the performer still is in the performing arts.
Right.
And then the owl becomes a sniper.
Yeah.
And they do have like a very nice, clever design thing. He has a bow when he's a Rowlet, and then he has an actual bow when he's a. So it's a little bit of a visual pun. Yeah, I liked the visual pun there.
And if anything,
a bow
and they made him a distinctive type. They made him a grass and ghost type, a weird typing, but it's different.
And then where Incineroar is just like, what? And then they try to justify it by saying he's a heel wrestler, and it's like, it's not even a real thing. I typed it into Google search. It's not real.
That was just a cover up they didn't want you to find.
Yeah, because now that it's Fire and Dark, that means fighting types can actually beat the crap out of it. So it's literally the weakest fire starter now.
Like they're trying to sell us on the idea that heel wrestling, you know, is a thing. Why it's a dark type. It's like, but it's not real.
I know.
And I guess it's more or less supposed to be the fact that it's a performing dirty wrestler, like one of the ones you would see on WWE. That fight dirty and.
Oh, I used to hate them. Oh my god! Every time I used to see them, I'm like, man. But the best heel that I actually liked was Ric Flair. He was probably the best one
I think that's what they were going for, though. That's what the idea behind the Incineroar, which it was obvious. I think this thing was supposed to be a fighting type. They just didn't want it to be a fighting type because they knew it would cause problems.
Yeah.
So,
and they even messed up his freaking Z move thing because it's called Malicious Moonsault. Right. I don't know wrestling moves, but apparently that's not even a moonsault.
No, because a moonsault is when you jump in the air and you do like a somersault in the air and smash your opponent. Now he does the smash part, but he doesn't. Well, I think he does do the somersault onto the top rope, but it's basically when you do the somersault backwards off the top rope, because that's when it becomes the moonsault.
Yeah. So it's not even the right term for Z. He just so messed up.
Right. And see what I do. I do like Incineroar, but I would if you ask me which one I will pick, because for Ultra Sun, I've already paid for it in full, so your boy will be playing it yet again. I will be going with my boy Rowlet again, because I definitely like Decidueye's, attacks, and I actually like how they fleshed him out. Now, when we all thought was going to stay grass flying, oh my god, he would have had so many weaknesses, but he would have been the best. But Grass Ghost was perfect because he's immune to normal moves. He may be weak to dark, but he still have his technical grass weaknesses, which are ice, fire, and flying. Yeah, those are the only weaknesses that he have. Besides, which one? I think it's dark. And
plus, Grass Ghost is just a whole lot more unique. Like only a few other Pokemon have that.
Which is Trevenant and Gourgeist.
Yeah.
Those are the only two. Because you remember they were debuted in Talos, but I don't think nobody actually really liked them.
Really?
I think people
they
like
weren't-
Gorgeist because the whole like the bigger one is stronger gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was alright.
Actually
Also, I gotta
like
vent just for a minute. I have chosen unintentionally the feminine starter for like the past 3 generations. It's like they don't appear feminine in their base form. I'm like, oh, Snivy, that's gonna be cool. Oh no, it's a queen. Okay, Fennekin. Oh, it's a female mage. Oh, Poplio. Oh, it's a siren.
Well, yeah, Poplio I think is the biggest culprit of it though because Poplio when it evolves to its final form, Primarina, it is definably just female.
female. Now, Tyrone, you was not privy to this conversation me and John had. He was crying because he was like, man, all the starters that I've chosen have become female. Why? It was so funny because it's like, yes, when you see Poplio, okay, you don't think, okay, it's gonna its final form is gonna be a female. But when you get Brion is like in the middle.
And this is why I believe they should have some sexual dimorphism in their starters now. Like that, this is getting really old. Where it's like,
Well, there was a rumor before Sun and Moon came out that Sun and Moon would have like version different,
starters.
final evolutions.
Yeah.
And people thought, oh,
Yes,
the female
we
one will be in
thought that
one,
too.
the male will be in the other.
We thought that too, yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
it
I
was just it was just like sexual dimorphism needs to happen already. The only starter Pokemon that has sexual dimorphism is freaking is freaking Venusaur, and it's stupid because the only difference is female Venusaur has a seed on its head, fucking, and that's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And because see, I'm like, because when you see
I'm just mad that they dropped like most gender differences as a whole, like, starting in Gen 5. Like we had gender differences for like a whole one generation in Gen 4, and then it's like, oh wait, now 99% of Pokemon don't have gender differences anymore.
and I mean, a lot of people get confused about that because I know I do. Because it's like when you see Primarina, what? And trust me, when I play Wi-Fi, Tyrone, I bred you one. You got a one it's called Bird Lady or Bird. I mean, I've seen so many nicknames for Primarina, and it is so funny. It's like people just basically just took the concept and just ran with it. Oh, this is I got a male I had a male Poplio and it's a male Primarina. But guess what? I'm gonna give her a feminine name, and that's what you all see.
It's just extra dumb because Poplio is 85% male.
And that's so true. It's like Game Freak. It's like I guess they basically forgot that all starters are 85% male. And when they made the design, they really didn't think about making, Poplio 85% female. And they just ran, either they, didn't really recognize what happened, or they basically just was like, I guess nobody would catch on. But how can you not catch on when every starter is 85% male?
Yeah, because that's been the trend for
Right.
like every gen since Gen 2.
Right. So how we not gonna catch that unless somebody technically really screwed up and left it in there by mistake? I'm just saying. Me personally,
I don't know about that.
I mean, because
Feels like they catch on.
a lot of us are like really confused on that. But let's move on into the new, because we've already basically discussed this in one of our other videos we all did together on our review. But I want to take this into this direction because we're going to talk about what Sun and Moon has in store with the anime, or do we think there's going to be some major changes for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon that's going to tie in with the anime? Because we basically already covered what we dislike about the Alola region. So what do you guys? We're going to start with you, Tyrone. Now, what do you think? We're going to start with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and because we was told that this is an alternate timeline. So So what is your thoughts? Do you think we're going to have some major differences that's coming in the anime that's going to tie in with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? And we're going to talk about the big elephant in the room with Zygarde Lunala, so Leia, and the Crossbow. We're going to talk about them four together as well. So, what are your thoughts?
With the whole alternate thing, just it's fairly obvious, unlike in Black and White 2, which at least had the decency to be sequels. So time has passed. This is a blatant, like, oh, this is the exact same thing, you know? The Switch is just in a spot where the Wii U used to be. Your house is the exact same, just it's colored blue instead of the whatever color it was in Sun and Moon. I'm looking at the trailer now, and yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just there's
Basically, right now, it's just aesthetic differences.
right aesthetic
Right.
differences, and that's all I see right now. And
Which is why I really hope we would have had like another trailer by now. We know nothing about this game.
Right, because I don't think we probably get another trailer until either July or maybe August. And to be quite
Like
honest,
they've said it's an alternate storyline. Like it's not like a sequel, but it's not like a third installment either. Like it's a retelling of Alola in a different kind of plot. But at the same time, they do that for every game. They'll be like, "Oh, brand new Pokemon adventure," even if it isn't. So,
right? And see now, and Masuda said that the Pokemon in the new game that they're making into Sun and Moon that's going to be here. Now, I think you said this best, John, or I think Tyrone. One of you two said this when y'all was with KT on the other podcast. One of you guys said that you're scared that it's going to be, the new Pokemon is going to be the new trend with, the new fusion with Solgaleo, Lunala, and the Crossbow. Do y'all think that's what it may be? And do you think we might? Because see, with the releases of Gold and Silver,
it's just that with this, I don't know, the fusion with Kyurem made sense. Because, Kyurem was the original dragon, right?
right?
And
yeah.
we could have seen that coming before time. Anyway. And then with this, there was no preconceived notion that Necrozma could do anything like this. So it just comes out of nowhere, and we're like, what?
like
I'm
the,
not gonna.
the story's gonna have to really justify why.
Because honestly, we know nothing about Necrozma.
No, we don't.
Like, we
Barely
barely
anything,
knew.
yeah.
Like, if we go back to like this point in Gen 6 or Gen 5, I thought we didn't know anything about Kyurem or Zygarde. We knew like 50 times more about Kyurem and Zygarde back then than we know about Necrozma now.
Right, because see,
Because even the game isn't sure. Like, when you catch him, the very last question that the game leaves you with is it an Ultra Beast or not? So even the game itself isn't entirely sure. Like, it leaves that question in your head as you finish the game.
right, because see, what I was thinking with, maybe Lunala and Solgaleo, maybe the fusion with the Crossbow may bring out some more moves that they have, or because don't get me wrong, now the forms look good. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they, okay, Solgaleo looks better than Lunala. I'm just gonna say that, but they're in their Radiant and Moonlight form, so it's a new phase. I think but they're in their alternate forms when they're connected to him, so they're gonna have to really explain this because it really doesn't make any sense.
Because, as far as we know, Necrozma really wasn't even related to Solgaleo or Lunala.
And we
in Sun and Moon.
we all thought he was a ultra. Well, everybody's still speculating he's an ultra beast, but he's
Like at least we knew, like, okay, Zygarde balances life and death.
Right.
Kyurem is the boundary between
Yin and
truth
yang.
and ideals.
right.
Right.
Rayquaza is the sky, while the other two are the land and the sea. With Necrozma, it's like sun, moon, and
Prism.
prismatic light. What? Where does that one come from? So
Basically,
it's really hard to tie them all together.
He's the most out of place, and if anything, when you threw in those Ultra Beasts, at least Necrozma had somewhere he could belong. Right? We're not saying that he was an Ultra Beast, But it was more fitting for him to be with the Ultra Beast than Solgaleo Lunala. Because Solgaleo...
and even among the Ultra Beasts, he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. So it's like...
Right.
Yeah.
He honestly just seems 50-50. Like, he can't fit in with either crowd.
Right, because even the story still, even the Pokédex is still saying that Solgaleo and Lunala, they could be possibly Ultra Beasts because they can, open the Ultra Wormholes. So they're saying that, Cosmog could have been an Ultra Beast. And I like
there's even a journal in the 8th Paradise that says that Cosmog was a beast that came from another dimension.
So I really actually like that theory. I actually like, because this is the first time we actually got legendaries that could be Ultra Beasts. And I actually like the Ultra Beasts. And I mean, I'm not probably the only one because I know I see a lot of people on Wi-Fi, they use like majority of the Ultra Beasts. And because they're really, really good. They're not legendaries, but they're just like...
See, this is why I'm surprised, honestly, that we didn't get a Diamond and Pearl remake announced, because I feel like they could have used this to connect into the Sinnoh plot like they did with Oras, because with Oras, they tried to connect Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza to Mega Evolution. And here, they could have done some weird thing where, Giratina is secretly an Ultra Beast because it comes from another dimension or something like that. They could have done that.
Or the main character from Diamond and Pearl is a faller because they came from one dimension to another.
Yeah, that could have been that sounds good. Now, before we dive into Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon a little bit more, let's go ahead and get the big elephant out of the room. The Diamond and Pearl remakes and how salty people were. There was a lot of salt going around that they when Nintendo announced Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
I'm not even concerned about salt.
Oh, I know you.
Like, you know what? They didn't get what they wanted. It's too bad. You gotta do what we got now.
Right? Because see, I'm gonna say this.
I wasn't really hyped for a Gen 4 remake because you can play Gen 4 games on your 3DS. So and it's still possible to transfer. It'd take a while, but you could transfer Gen 4 Pokemon to your Gen 7 game. So I wasn't really concerned about it.
Because see, a lot of people were based, they were all based on, and we're going to talk about, Stars and Prisma too while we're on the topic.
I wasn't even a big fan of Gen 3 games, but at least I got it. I was like, okay, I get it. It's impossible to play a Gen 3 game on your 3DS. It's impossible. There's no way for it to happen. So I got it. I was like, that's why people want Gen 3. You don't want Gen 4 because why?
It just follow trends.
Why?
It just follow trends. That's it. Because see, my thing was with the remake.
I just don't get why people are like, oh man, this gen was my favorite, so they have to remake it. And it's like, if it was your favorite and it was so flawless, why would you want to remake it? Because that was what happened. That was what happened to the Hoenn fans. They were so excited. They wanted a Gen 3 remake because it was their favorite game, and then it came out, and they were so disappointed by it. They were like, "Oh man, this was nothing like the original. This was terrible."
That's not gonna be like the original. It's a remake. That's why they call it remake. And then they had to throw a splash of Emerald in there because a lot of people was like, well, there's going to be a Delta game coming out. No, because you got the Delta episode.
And again, it follows the Gen 6 theme of not even being freaking finished. The Battle Frontier doesn't exist.
And the Battle Maison is so lazily ported into Oras. If you go through and you fight the NPCs in the Battle Maison, they are the exact same NPCs from Kalos, because those Kalos trainer classes, they don't exist in Hoenn. Hoenn has entirely different trainer classes, but if you go in that Battle Maison in Oras, it's exactly the same as XY. It feels like it was literally just ripped out.
And what's worse is that when you do the Battlefront, when they say, oh, the Battle Frontier is canceled, it's under construction, they give you false hope that, they're going to add it as DLC or something. No, they move directly on into Sun and Moon, and we never get touched on it again.
I was on that bandwagon. I was like, oh man, we're gonna get the DLC for the Battlefront 2.
And there was a 2-year gap between ORAS and Sun and Moon. It was like the longest gap we've had in a while. So they had plenty of time
to do it. I mean, right. And we didn't even get it. And then, a lot of people now, if you go back into play Sun and Moon, well, not Sun and Moon, ORAS, if you go back and play it and you get to one of the Maison ladies, they basically tell you they're from Kalos to vacation, so they brought the Maison with them. I'm like, okay, why would we want the Maison?
And then you got some random NPC saying, actually, the Maison girls are originally from Hoenn. And it's like, yeah, right, you tried that with Mega Evolution. Just stop trying to rewrite stuff.
I was like, are you serious? Come on now. I'm like, we could have had the Battlefront tier. Because I want to see how the Battlefront 2 would look on the new models of Pokemon. And I think it would have looked really, really good. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, it would have been great.
Yeah.
But, I mean, while we're on the topic of the Battle Maison and the Battlefront tier, let's go ahead and talk about it being on the Switch, because I know a lot of people were so disappointed that the game that just been announced was not going to be on the Switch. Now I know you two have already talked about this, but just give a brief discussion of why you guys was for it or not for it. I can tell you why I'm for it, but not for it. And the reason why I'm for it is because I don't want to see a mainstream Pokemon like Gen 8. I don't want to see it come to the Switch. What I wanted to see was another installment of Pokemon like, Coliseum or, Pokemon Gale of Darkness. Something like that would tie all seven gens into that one region where you can catch all the Pokemon from, all 7 gens or something like that. And I would like to see that on a platform. The reason why I don't want to see a mainstream come to this on the Switch, and this is economically the reason why, because we're paying only $42 now for Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. Now, any Pokemon game you get on the 3DS, that's what you're gonna pay. But if it goes to the Switch, you're gonna be paying almost $60 to $70 for it. And a lot of people are gonna be looking. A lot of people are gonna be looking like, okay, we were just.
Well, on the Switch, they will have a much larger.
Right, and that is true, and I think that's what a lot of people was thinking.
I mean, you got Breath of the Wild, which is like the largest video game ever made.
Oh my goodness, so. It is beautiful too. It is so beautiful.
And they got DLC to make it
and right now, they're struggling to. They still struggle to fit all of Kanto into, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So. Yeah, they definitely a 3DS game would be. I would love to see a Gen 8 region that's just massive, like incredibly large.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to come to the Switch because of that. It was just because of monetary wise, and a lot of people will be thinking like, okay, I'm paying $40 for a Pokemon game. Now I'm about to turn around and pay $70, which I know reason why, because it's, you got more storage, you have more into it, and it will look good. But how would that affect everybody? Because as we already know, and John, you said this too, that there's no Switches out at the moment because they don't have it. Because I went to GameStop last week when I pre-ordered Ultra Sun, and I was talking to the girl there, and she said they have no Switches. Even though I already knew that, but I basically just asked her again, and she said,
"Well, that's just because it's a new console. That always happens.
That's always happening, right?"
So by the time a Pokemon game comes out, there's gonna be a plethora of Switches.
See, I'm actually gonna probably get one. I'm gonna actually go ahead and get one because I want to play John in some Mario Kart 8.
You gotta get some Zelda, man.
I love Zelda. I still got Ocarina of Time. I still got Ocarina of Time, and I got what was the other one? Twilight Princess, and I love Twilight Princess.
Right.
I tell you what, Breath of the Wild is the only non-Pokemon game I've ever been so sucked into.
Oh my God, Zelda is so one of my favorites. I love Zelda. So yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about some Zelda too. You like Zelda, Tyrone?
I play some here and there. It's fine.
I love it, but we're not gonna get into Zelda. Let's go ahead and get back to our Pokemon because this is getting deep. Because what do you guys think on that topic I was just saying? I know John is for the Switch, but he has no revelations on whether it's good or bad for it not to come or not. What about you, Tyrone?
Well, Pokemon's on the Switch. Pokemon and console games have been sort of all around the place. I don't think Gen 5 got a RPG for anything. Not for the Wii U, not for the... Yeah. Gen 4
We
got...
haven't gotten anything since Gen 3, really. I mean, you can count
Battle Revelations, but Battle Revelations was really just enhancements for the DS.
Yeah, it was basically just another 3D stadium type game.
And it looked really good. To be honest, it looked really good.
And to me, it was really slow.
I
Like,
never played
not
it.
to mention
battles
there was-
felt like it took forever in that to me.
And not to mention there was just nothing but battle.
Yeah.
So,
At least in Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, you had mini games and
Right, I was
other
about to
things
say
you could
that.
do. But this
Right,
one was just,
It was just battles. Because I own Stadium 1 and 2. And there was a lot of mini games you could battle, all 16 gym leaders. It was actually really fun, but if they bring down something like that for the Switch, I would definitely be up for it.
And
see,
to
I
me-
think the reason why we didn't get one for Gen 6 or 7 so far is because, the main reason for those games like Stadium or Battle Revolution for existing is just the experience of having 3D Pokemon. Since we have that on the 3DS now, there's really not a need for it.
and to me, Gen 3, I think, did the best when it came to 3D Pokemon, just strictly because
They gave us a plot and they
they
gave
strayed
us
away
more
from
Pokemon.
I gotta battle this gym leader, and then I gotta go to this town to stop this event so that I can go to the next town to battle this gym leader. Oh, there's an evil team. Like, from the get-go, we have our evil team attacking. It's just a matter of, can we purify this Pokemon real fast and then get down to the bottom of it?
See, that's what I actually like. Coliseum, because they were dark Pokemon, they were shadow Pokemon, so you had to actually take them and purify them. The only hard Pokemon to do that was Lugia. Any legendary, they didn't have any legendaries in Coliseum, but in Yellow Dark, wait.
They had Entei, Raikou, and Suicune.
I would say, yeah,
And you could get Ho-Oh through a series of other events.
Yeah.
right, because I was thinking of Ho-Oh, but I thought Ho-Oh was in Yellow Darkness with Lugia.
And I think you could probably get Celebi through some event too. I
Yeah.
forget exactly how.
You could. It was downloadable because there was no other way to get Celebi at that time.
And see, with Lugia, it was so hard to make him, take this hate out of his heart and make him purified. You had to go through so much. And, you had to battle with him a lot.
Well, yeah, plus you had to catch every single Shadow Pokemon in order to get the purification machine.
Yeah, and that took a long time, but it actually gave you something to do. It was like more post-game, but it gave you a little bit more to do. And, it wasn't that bad.
And it was a neat reward how it's okay, you purify your Lugia, now that you purified it.
I'll be down for it, because I would, and then if we could transfer our all of our Pokemon from from the 3DS to the Switch, that would make it even better.
Well, yeah, it was a neat reward how it was okay, you purified your Lugia, so now you can transfer it to your Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald games.
Right, but I never got a chance to see him over, because I think
Neither did I, because I never figured out how to do it.
No, I purified it, but I just did never send them over, because I think Gen 4 had came out, and I think I lost my data for. No, I had Pokemon. With the one they had brought out it was Pokemon Box that they had for GameCube.
Ruby and Sapphire box, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I think I lost my data for that. I still got I still got the memory card, but I think I lost something happened to my cartridge and it messed up my file. And I was pretty hot. I was so mad. But we're gonna move on to what we think was gonna be what's the differences of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon that may tie into the anime. Because now I'm thinking this game is gonna probably draw off from the anime. Because as we all know, when Ash first did his first trial, he faced the Totem Eradicate, but there was no captain. Only Hala went with him. So do you guys think that we're gonna not have captains in this game? And it's just gonna be ran by, the Kahuna of the island?
I think we still will. I think the only reason why the Sun and Moon anime is the way it is, it's just something that I've stuck to for many generations now. I say that if the games don't deliver all the way with the plot, then the anime goes hard.
Right.
If the games did do a good job with the plot, then the anime kind of takes it easy and they go for a softer route. And that's why we got stuff like Best Wishes, Schooling.
Because I was about to say, because all the captains are basically traveling with Ash at the moment. So except Lima, I think it's Lima. Alima, yeah. He's the only one that's not with them. So all the other five are with him. So it's basically like, who's gonna? Because see, we got Lana's trial coming up in like 3 episodes. So who's gonna man that one? Because it's gonna be the wishy-washy. Who's gonna man that one? And I know
that is a good question.
So when we do our reviews, we're gonna be like, okay.
I think with this one, it's like you said, they're probably not gonna have trial captains because there's no real point. The trial captains didn't do anything.
They really did. They just oversaw.
They just told you, "Hey, here's the challenge. Do it."
They just oversaw.
Whereas this one, they're taking the more direct approach in the anime, where it's like, get in there, fight the totem Pokemon. They'll give you a Z Crystal afterwards.
Right, basically that's what it is.
And you don't need a captain to tell you that, like.
And then we get we'll talk about that toward the end about the gyms possibly returning in Sun and Moon. We'll talk about that at the end. So, John, what's your opinion on that before we move on? Because I definitely want to get to the legendaries and Zygarde and why the hell is he here in Alola?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I feel like, trial captains, I'm going to go along with what Tyrone said. They don't need to be there in the anime because they just don't do anything in the games. I feel like it's not going to influence Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon that much. But, I don't know.
Right. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to the legendaries. And the evil team and why the hell Zygarde's here in Alola. Tyrone, take it away, bro.
It all rewinds back to what we said before, though. It's like Gen 6 just wasn't finished. I get it and don't get it. I get that Pokemon has to sell, or they'll lose money or things like that. Because I think Gen 4 was the longest gap we had of non-Pokemon games after its release. I think we waited a long time after Heart Gold and Soul Silver to get Pokemon Black and White.
I think
the longest gap was between Diamond and Pearl and Platinum.
Yeah, Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. We didn't get...
Which was really disappointing because it's like we wait 2.5 whole years and we get a game that's just like the ones we had.
Right. So it's just like, I get it, but at the same time, do we really have to rush X and Y like this? Because what you got now is 2 of your Pokemon that should have been in X and Y are now in Sun and Moon awkwardly. Maguna, I think, was supposed to be in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
She was.
But it wound up in goddamn Sun and Moon. Out of place too.
I know you have to scan it, and then you scan her code, and once you scan her, you go to the Poke Center and you pick her up, and I'm
And
like,
you just get her. That's
Well,
it.
plus there's just no lore for Magearna in Alola.
Right.
It feels like it fits more in Kalos.
right.
You're right.
It was felt like it was in Kalos.
It was even in a Kalos movie, so it just was here because fuck it. And then Volcarona, when did he even happen?
He happened in the movie.
Was he in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire? I think you got him at last minute.
Yeah, we got last week.
Volcanion, yeah, he came out like the day before.
Volcanion, I'm
Sun and
sorry,
Moon.
yeah.
Yeah, like the day before Sun and Moon was dropped. They're like, no, actually, it was weird because it was like afterward. It was like Sun and Moon came out, and they were like, "Hey guys, here's a distribution for X and Y." You're like, what?
Why? Yeah, like, why would I do that? So then it all balls up to this one thing. Gen 6 was not finished. So Zygarde is just here now. And what makes it worse, the way to get him is so tedious.
Oh my God!
I
was it
still
not-
haven't gotten all my Zygarde pieces.
I have, and trust me, it is. I have, and it is really, really tough. It is so tough because you have to really go. You have to basically know. What I did is I had to. I had my. I had to. What you call it? My guide, and then sometimes the guide didn't even have it.
Oh yeah, because there's like the day and night type thing. Yeah. Sometimes the spells just wouldn't be there.
Right. So
That's
it was.
crap.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
really-
So not only do you have to search all of Alola during the day, but you also have to search all of Alola during the night.
Okay, so you know,
But
yeah, you have to.
the thing is that's like Alola's only problem with Zygarde. And it's not even like its own problem. Like, he inherited the problem from Gen 6.
yeah,
Because
so,
Gen 6 was incomplete.
right. Because see now, what I wanted to talk to you too about on Zygarde and Greninja, it has been said in the anime that Ash may go back to Kalos and get him and bring him back to Alola. So that's why Ash Greninja is in the game. I have no apparent reason why Zygarde is here.
I mean, well, we have no real canonical proof of Ash going back to Kalos, though.
Which is true, but would anybody probably bring him to Alola?
Zygarde, if anything, but I don't know. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's just a bunch of fan stuff floating around because they want Serena back, they want Greninja back, they want Zygarde back.
I
Just don't think it's gonna happen.
I know. And this is gonna be our last part, guys, because I know we done took this on forever. But with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, we don't really have too much information on it just yet. But do you guys think, with the story plot, like I said, do you guys think somebody may just bring Ash Greninja back to him? And if so, how would Ash Greninja?
I don't think so. I think Ash Greninja was more or less a promotional piece. The reason I say that is just specifically because Ash was able to do something that nobody else was able to do at the time of X and Y, and that was make a new type of Greninja, specifically for the bond phenomenon that was never really touched on.
Well, I feel like it was just there to have an excuse as to why
Ash
Ash
would
never
Mega
got
Evolve.
You're wrong, right?
Because they couldn't give him a Mega Ring because they would just send him off to Alola and he would have that and he'd be like, well, Ash has a Mega Ring, but no Pokemon that can Mega Evolve.
I
plus
mean,
Mega
they could have
Evolution.
went the Alon route and just had Ash, throw it away.
And, well, no, actually, he could have left it at home.
I guess they just didn't want Ash. They wanted Ash's. One of Ash's.
But if he
Pokemon
left it at home, people would have been even saltier. They would have been like, "Oh man, he had that ring and he just left it at home."
Yeah.
I feel like
So
the bond phenomenon was the easiest way
Which
for them
is
to
Game Boy.
right, and then everybody was like, "Oh, Ash Greninja's so cool. I want a Greninja that can do that." And then Game Freak went, "Well, now you can."
Well, yeah, it's funny. They had an interview with the director of the X, Y, and Z arc, and he said that was like the first time since Yellow version that the anime crew has actually gone to Game Freak and said, hey, can we have something like that in the next games? And Game Freak was like, sure, why not? We'll put Astro Ninja in.
It's why all these Pikachus, they have the ash heads, and you know, it's that whole thing. I hate to break it to a lot of fans here, but I think Astro Ninja was just more, it's not a hint at anything for the anime or any of that. I think it was just sort of, hey, Greninja did that really cool thing in Kalos. Let's let the players be able to do that really cool thing in Kalos.
But if you think about it, he doesn't really last long. Think about it, because by the time he even changed, he's probably half dead already before he even.
Oh yeah, competition-wise, it's horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. But I actually like
Protein Greninja still banned, but not Astro Ninja.
I never. Oh gosh, yeah, that is true.
A regular Greninja beating a regular Greninja with no Torn ability beating a regular Pokemon is hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking a major revenge kill, and that's the odds of that happening are slim.
Slim to none, right? But we're gonna go ahead and end on this video right here. But we're gonna definitely do another one on part 2, because when we get some more information on Sun and Moon, we're gonna come back and do another video on on that part on Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So I want to give a good thanks to my good friends Tyrone the God 3 and JPR. Don't forget to check out their channels. All their everything will be in the description box. Their channels, their Twitters, whatever you want to follow them on. Just make sure you check them out because they're good. Any parting words from my friends? Do y'all have any parting words y'all would like to say before we, end the video?
Good night, everybody.
Oh, he switched it up.
I see. I see. Tyrone, you have any parting words, my friend?
This discussion video was long enough for you to start playing Diamond and Pearl and get through the tutorial.
I know, and it actually was long enough to play the whole game of Sun and Moon as well. So we're actually kind of promoting the game, so that means you guys know how to buy it. But this is your boy Kenny Long. I appreciate you guys listening to us have fun trying to dissect the 3-game theory, and we're gonna do another one soon. So look out for it. But like I said, in the meantime, check out my boy John and Tyrone. Check out their channels. And with that being said, we will see you guys later.